This program is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised.
Hey kids, what's up? Decided to come on with the just out of the nowhere midweek stream just to say hey to everybody and see what's going on in the world. I think this time have a pinned link to the StreamYard up there at the top if you want to get on. I see Largo's here with me. What's up, chicken butt? Not too much there, brother. Good to see you on. There's a few others lurking here, but I don't know who they are because they haven't spoken up in the chat yet. Let me do a quick shout out real quick to, so I can find it. Where did I put that? There it is. Let me make a quick shout out to my Patreons on patreon.com. Grindhead Jim, Pope, Will McLaughlin, Jim Largo, Rolo at Masters Maniac Mexico, and Bjorn Jorgensen. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. Without your support, I would not be here. If you would like to support my channel, if you like this content, please feel free to run over to patreon.com/weirdfantastictoys and help me out. I would appreciate that very, very much. Hey, Nolan, what's going on, man? Glad you're here. One of the things I wanted to do real quick here at the beginning of the show is I want to apologize to John Paul Revere. I got an email from him today, and I offered, I think last time that I was on, which was on my Up All Night after show that I did this past Saturday, to show a couple of his tunes on my show. Well, without him being here, I cannot do that. He does not want me to, and I perfectly understand that. And I did show a little bit of his show at the last part of his show, his ending credits. In the corner, well, I guess it was over here in this corner, at my live stream beginning, and I won't ever do that again either because I don't think that's kosher with him, and I understand that. He wants his content to be exclusive to his channel unless he's appearing on the show, and I understand that, and I want him to know that if he's listening, that I understand that, and I'm not upset by him saying that to me. As a matter of fact, I appreciate him saying that to me. And I don't think I've ever shown any of his content other than that little thing that I had in the corner at the very, very beginning of the show. So unless he was here. And so I want him to know that it's perfectly all right, that if I've overstepped my bounds, to feel free to call me out. Let me know when I've done wrong, and I'll try to make it right. And what does Largo say here? Largo says, I'm out and about right now. I might join you when I get home if you're still transmitting. Feel free, man. I understand. It's good to be out and about. It's good to be seen. I had to get out and about today. I didn't really want to get out and about today, but I did. I had to get off work a little early, and I had to go over to Sardis, Mississippi, and pay a speeding ticket that I received. Yes, I was a naughty boy and got caught going a little bit over the speed limit by the highway patrol, and I was issued a citation, and I had to go and pay that. That helps, I guess, the state revenue and the revenue collection agency, also known as the highway patrol, make sure that the coffers stay full. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope y'all are doing okay. I've been playing a little bit this afternoon since I got home. I got down in the Castle Grayskull and I added a couple of things. I put the actual Explorer spacesuit in its place. I put the control panel that goes with it there. And I also put the big control panel and screen over in the computer room there. And those are not from my Origins Castle Grayskull. I actually purchased those separately. And I see a couple of people have popped in the chat there. There's Denise, OBS. Hey, OBS, good to see you. And I hope you heard what I said earlier to John Paul. I did not mean to overstep my bounds, and I did offer to play some stuff from his show on that Saturday show, but I don't remember actually playing any of that. I went through the stream right before I started tonight and made sure I didn't. So, and I don't think I did. So I won't offer to play anything off of his show again unless he's here with me. And Nolan says, hey to OBS. Joneser's in the house. Hey, what's up there? Good to see you, Motu Joneser. Largo says, where were you speeding on? Were you speeding on two wheels or four? I was on four, my friend. Yeah, the wife and I were in the truck heading to meet with my daughter on, for a birthday dinner that day, and I kind of got a little too fast there. And OBS says, cheers, I just tried a new IPA, Ghosts in the Sky. Okay, cool. Rolando Flores in the house. Hey, good to see you there, Rolando. Good to see you. And yeah, I've got some stuff that I want to. I know my connection's getting kind of fuzzy there. It says it's fairly good, but if I start to stutter or pop, just let me know. I hope everybody can hear me all right. Anyway, yeah, I was headed out, going out over there to see my daughter, and I kind of got a little too fast, and I got caught by the state there, Revenue Collection Agency, and got issued a citation. Anyway, yeah, I got some stuff to unbox on Sunday. I might put it on the camera and tease it here quickly, but I also have I have a battle ram, a vintage battle ram that I bought, and I'm waiting on some replacement stickers to arrive so that I can put those on it. If they get here sooner, I hope they get here before Sunday. I'd like to put them on Sunday, and if they get here before Saturday, I might put them on the Saturday night, up all night. And that's another thing. I want to try to get on a little more often. I need to make some content. I've got a couple things I got brewing up here that if I get a chance here over the holidays, I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple of videos, and I'll hold them back and lay them on you. One of them's a Christmas special, so just hang tight and see what happens. OBS says she's fighting a tooth infection. Yuck. I had a couple bad teeth from drinking too much Mountain Dew here a few years back, and I had to get a wisdom tooth, the tooth beside it on up on this side, and the wisdom tooth on this side took out. They were rotten to the core. And Largo says, greetings to everyone in the chat. I'm going to be driving, so I'll catch you later. You be careful and no speeding, says OBS. And Largo says, I'll leave the speeding to Bill. Well, Bill's fixing to slow himself down. Master Versal Toy Hunter is in the house. Good day, evening there, sir. Yes, it is evening here. I Like Salt just showed up. Hey, what's going on? Checking you out, my friend. Thanks for showing up. I Like Salt. I'm glad that you're one of JPR's heroes there. Yeah, I'm just kind of, let's see what OBS says. Teeth is the worst. Yeah, it is. They're pretty bad. And OBS says, hey to Sir Salt. Yeah, I just wanted to pop in just to give everybody kind of a heads up what's going on the channel. What I'm going to try to be doing is I'm going to try to do at least one midweek special every once in a while, and it'll always be a special. Okay. I also want to do a Friday show, a Friday evening after work show. And I want to do a Saturday night up all night. I won't actually be up all night, but it's just a couple of hours after AOM shuts down. It's kind of like a little coffee shop or the Crystal. Everybody kind of shows up after the bar's closed and kind of winds down before they head to the house. And that's kind of what I want to be doing on Saturday nights. And then, of course, is the main show every Sunday at 12 noon Central Time. I will be doing, of course, my Sunday show unless I have something else that goes on in instead. So that's kind of what I want to try to do. I want to try to get into that set schedule. So you never know, I might pop in midweek sometime. I'm probably going to do a Saturday afternoon show after I get home from work. A Friday afternoon show when I get off work. I'm going to do a Saturday night show after AOM's over with. And I'm going to do a Sunday live stream. That's going to be my main show every Sunday. And Toe Art Games comes in. Hey, what's going on? Good to see you, man. Glad you showed up. And let's see if I've got a banner for this. I know my bots are probably showing it as well. If you would like to tip me on Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/weird fantastic toy adventure/tip. And you can give me a little tip that those always help. They make sure that I don't have to sell a toy or something to keep the show live and on the air. So, and all the monies that I receive either from Patreon or from StreamYard tips go directly back into this show. There to purchase either equipment, software, or subscriptions such as StreamYard so that I can continue to do what I do. And if anybody wants to join me, you're more than welcome to. At the top of the chat, you will see a pinned message with the StreamYard link in it that will allow you to do that. Back into the comments, Wilhelm Toy and Hobby has just showed up. Hey, Will, how's it going? Once again, I tell you, join me if you dare. I have it right up there. Master Versal says, hugs to all in the passing of the white light or the green dragon, and the Zen User Zero and the Max Turbo, and then finally the Black Dino. That was Jason David Franken. May the power protect you all. Yes, the Green Ranger passed. That was sad. Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, who was Batman to many of us, has passed. But in the passing of those, we're sad, but know that the Green Ranger shall always live and Batman shall always live. Even though those characters those characters were portrayed by these gentlemen and portrayed so well, just because they passed doesn't mean that our pop culture icons passed. And Motu Jones are saying hey to Wilhelm. I like salt. Nolan, you know it, my friend. It's what I do. Got this week off. Having a great time. Glad you got the week off, man. I wish I could get more time off than what I do. And Motu Jones said, agreed. Bill Well said, thank you, sir. And very true, a word there, sir. Indeed, yes. And like I said, I've got some stuff upcoming on the show. I've got the Road Ripper. Yeah, they call it the Ground Ripper, but in my mind, it's still a Road Ripper, along with Mecha Neck, and we're going to open those up on Sunday. I got those in. Big Bad Toy Store is getting ready to send a couple of things to me off my pile of loot here as soon as I can get it all looted up good. I got the Mini Comics Trap Joe. I wasn't going to buy him, but I went ahead and bought him. And I've got a couple other things that are going to hop on my pile of loot. Once the loot pile gets big enough, I'll go ahead and send it in, and we'll all take a look at it. And OBS says, no week off, one day, and no pay for it. Yeah. Well, at least I get paid holidays. They're very few and far between, but we do get paid holidays. And we have PTO time, and I used 4 hours of that today so that I could go pay that stupid fine. and I still have enough. I think I've got 9 hours of PTO left, and so I can take a day off around Christmas in addition to the day that we're going to get for Christmas. And I think Christmas falls on a Sunday this year, so we get Monday off. So I might take Friday so I can get a nice little weekend. What does Sir I Like Salt say? What we leave behind is what we were. Hopefully love follows me. If not, you were probably a bud. But if I did not like you, I'll let you know with a friendly discussion. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And Master Versal says, yes, I'll be bringing in Mythic Legions to my channel soon, because why not there? With the purchase of the Mythic Legions Centaur figure, so that will be coming something new to my channel. Very well. I'll look forward to that. Look forward to that. And Nolan says, it's been a couple of years since I had a week off. Yeah, I haven't had a week off in a long time. But this Thanksgiving, we kind of get Thursday and Friday off, then of course Saturday and Sunday. So that's like 4 days if you think about it. And OBS laughing at Sir I Like Salt. But yeah, my channel, like a lot of others, I'm not monetized. I operate strictly on tips and patronage. So, if anybody wants to help me out that way, it's always appreciated. And like I said, the channel's open right now. If anybody wants to hop on and just chat with me a little bit, it's been kind of hard. I was telling Grindhead Jim the other day that I'm feeling a little burned out, and it's because of the long hours that I have to do at work, and it kind of upsets me that I don't have time to sit down and cut these videos, and cutting the video takes a while. That's one of the reasons why I continue to do these live streams like I do. Oh, great, Jones. Or just take your time and I'll wait for you, man. But yeah, there's a couple of things I wanna try to cut together. One of them is kind of a funny Christmas thing, and maybe I'll get a chance to do that here in a day or so. So just stay tuned. I know Grindhead Jim said that he always does a Thanksgiving Day stream, so I'll probably be over there hanging out with him, and then we'll see what happens later on that day for the Friday afternoon stream, depending upon how long he decides to stream. We'll see. But you guys just let me know something you'd like to see in my collection. I might pull it out if it's handy. I've got that $1 that I bought recently that I put the head from Lee Customs on is over here, and I actually bought another $1 back when they did the made to order. But I noticed something weird happened earlier this week. I didn't get in on it. Of course, it all happened while I was at work or not paying attention. But every once in a while, just pay attention over there to Mattel Creations. Some of the things that have already been up, they offer again. $1 was offered again, and I think Mini Comics Triclops was offered again. So keep your eye out over there because you never know what might show up. And of course, I'm not interested in Mini Comics Triclops. I never was, and I really didn't even try with Coldar either. Sir I Like Salt says, I'm trying to get into toys for real. I've always collected toy cars, started with Matchbox and Hot Wheels. Those are quite popular today for a lot of collectors. As a matter of fact, whenever I go toy hunting at Walmart, there's always a couple of guys over there checking out the Hot Wheels, and they're always the same ones. You can tell the Hot Wheels guys, they have a certain look about them. And can't afford the real ones. Hot Wheels are very affordable, my friend. Hot Wheels are one of the few toys that price point has not changed very much at all in the last 40 years. There's Joneser hopping on. Let me let him get a chance to sit in his chair here, and we'll pop him on the stream. Hey, Joneser, what's going on, my man?
What's up, everybody? Yeah, I was just lazy Tuesday night,
Yeah, pretty lazy, pretty lazy. We're just kind of chilling out. It's kind of a chill stream tonight, if you know what I mean.
I
Just
do.
kind of hanging out, seeing who all's here. I was just looking at how many people are watching, and it goes from 8 to 10 and 7 and back up to 10 again. So people are kind of hopping on, seeing what's going on, deciding maybe it's not for them and hopping back off. I don't know, but I'm just kind of hanging out, man. You know how it
Well,
goes.
I came
So
for
what's
you, man.
going on there?
I'm good
I
with just
appreciate
you.
it. I appreciate it, man. What's going on over there at the Joneser household here recently?
We tend to take the older boy to work, so he's off to work, and the middle child just started basketball, so he's doing basketball practice. So when he
Okay.
calls, I'll probably have to pop off and go get him. And
That's
Lyric's
fine. I
playing
wasn't
the
planning on
Nintendo.
staying on too very long. I wasn't
Lyric's
planning on
playing the
staying on.
Nintendo in front of me.
Uh-huh. And
So it's
Ian
just
Sweeney just showed up. What's going on there, Ian Sweeney? Good to see you. How's Lyric been doing? Is he still doing his little projects?
he is. He's playing the Nintendo right now, or fighting with it, trying to get it to work. Put the
Okay.
volume down, bud. But he's like playing those old 8-bit Nintendo games. He's having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah,
We were
those were
playing like
fun.
Double Dribble basketball and Bubble Bobble and all the old NES games.
OBS wanted me to show the Grayskull again. Yeah, I bought some panels that go in the new Grayskull, so I didn't have to use the ones from mine, and I'm kind of putting them in there. But I don't like the way the main panel is sitting over there in the main control room by the elevator hole. So
Sure.
I'm wondering if I need to take my Dremel tool and cut that thing in a couple of pieces and maybe put them in there. What do you think there, Joneser?
I'm not much of a customizer, to be honest with you. So, I mean, you're kind of in territory I don't venture to. So,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just too afraid I'm going to break my toy.
Well, here's the thing. When you got an extra piece like this, it's okay to break them because
Right.
you got the other one in there. The other gray skull that I have, which is the Origins gray skull, is I haven't touched it as far as customizing. It's got everything in it that it had in it the day I bought it. But I don't mind customizing things, and I've been working on this Castle Grayskull for a long time, and I
Oh, it
held
looks
off.
nice.
Say that again, sir.
It looks nice, and the weapon rack really pops on me. For me, that was the first thing that drew my attention.
Yeah, you like that weapon right there? I
I
painted
do.
I painted it and all the weapons on it,
Yeah, that was the first
and
thing that kind of drew my attention.
yeah, and behind you can't see it for the ladder. Let me move the ladder over. I've got uh, I've got my custom weapons rack that was like the little cardboard thing. I've got it in there, and I bought this other weapons rack from an Etsy store called Made in Kaiserstuhl, and they have some interesting things on there. I bought wrist blasters for my Stratos, the Filmation Stratos. You know, if you remember in the cartoons, he had wrist blasters. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
Or
I've got
maybe you
those.
did an open hand.
Yeah. And Wilhelm here is it's much easier to ruin a custom than it is to get a good result. Well, it can be. I have ruined some stuff in the past, and that's what you have to be willing to do that to learn. And
Right.
that's the hard part. Master Versal says, yes, $1 mini comics Triclops, as were the Mysteries of Grayskull and the Horde 4-pack, apparently came back up for sale but sold out fast. Did you know about that, Jones, or that stuff had come back up for sale over there?
I caught the news too late for me to get anything, which I don't know if I would have bought anything anyway. I guess I wanted that Mysteries of Grayskull pack, but none of the other ones really spoke to me. I guess I'm gonna have to haunt that site every now and then because I guess the stuff pops up randomly,
Yeah.
and I think they're gonna have it on the 28th as well, is what I heard.
Okay. Okay. Well, I've got the Mysteries of Grayskull pack. As a matter of fact, that Explorer spacesuit that you saw earlier is straight from that Mysteries of Grayskull pack. That's mine. But I'll tell you this: the only thing I bought that Mysteries of Grayskull pack for was the spacesuit. The rest of that stuff it blows. It really does, in my opinion. The Spirit of Grayskull, it doesn't look right and it's too big. The Dwell of Souls is too big. It's really too big for where they wanted to put it. And that tentacle creature, the Orlock, yeah, that thing is way too big. It didn't need to be that huge, but and I just leave them in their box. But I did take the Explorer spacesuit out. I think it looks nice to have my vintage Grayskull have no longer have cardboard cutouts in it, but to have real stuff.
I'm lucky I have a completed Grayskull behind me, and then I was doing some buy sell trading with Masters of the Universe for a while, so I was getting a lot of vintage lots, and I slapped together almost completed vintage Grayskull for Lyric to play with.
Oh,
It's
that's
missing
nice.
a few bits. It's missing the elevator and the cardboard bits and a couple weapons, but you know,
Well,
I mean,
the cardboard bits are easily replaceable, Jones. Or all you got to do is
get
print those out.
Exactly. I was lucky enough to track down some original ones for the one I got behind me. But yeah, you can get the stickers and everything. The Snake Mountain I got behind me has probably got more reprinted stickers, not original stickers. You know, I mean, you got to do your best when you're on a restoration or something like that, you know.
And Masterversal Toy Hunter. Now you know who Masterversal Toy Hunter is, don't you?
I do. I've checked his channel out a few times. I really like what he's got going on. It's something a little different.
Yeah. That's Eldor, man. Eldor, he uses the eye of the universe in order to channel into YouTube, and he was actually on my show Saturday night. I don't know if you've had a chance to check that out, but replays are fun because you can skip around.
I've missed the last couple up all nights, but I'll have to check it back to check him out.
He used the great eye of the universe to channel into my channel, and we had a long chat. And he's just a wonderful fellow, and I just enjoyed chatting with him. And he had just got through doing a live stream where, well, he had been trying to contact Orko on Trolla because Orko's living on Trolla now, and he was using the eye of the universe to try to talk to him, and he got it wrong because sometimes he's kind of getting up there in years and his magic goes wrong a little bit, and instead of contacting Trolla, he contacted another YouTube channel, Osmandius Toys or something like that, and he contacted them, and he was on their show, and they talked about Mythic Legions. And after he left their show, he popped over here to my show, and I invited him on, and so he was able to get the magic right that time and came on my show. It was real neat.
Oh, and that's awesome.
He's yeah, and he makes his own custom toys as well, and he does an excellent job. And he also saying here, that's Rolo there. Guess who has no internet? Has internet again 20 minutes ago. Yay, Rolo!
What's up, Rolo?
I arrived at the hospital, and I'm so glad that the first thing I see is my dear friend Bill and my compadres. Greatest moment ever. Well, I'm glad there, Rolo. I'm glad that you were able to get back on. And Ian Sweeney says, welcome back, Rolo. And everybody's saying it's awesome that he's back. And Eldar told me that it was Ostradamus Toys. Yes, Ostradamus. So it's like Nostradamus as in Oz, Australia.
I thought it was like Ozymandias from the Watchmen.
And Yeah. Ozymandias. I like the Watchmen. Did you ever read the original comic? That was
I
the one that
have it.
I
I
got
have
back
it.
in the day,
Yeah, well, I've got it in
and I was
graphic
very
novel.
surprised at how. Yeah, I was very surprised at how closely that the movie followed most of the graphic novel, except for the ending. I was kind of blah on the ending, because the ending should have been a giant tentacle creature destroying half of New York, right?
Exactly. No, I enjoyed the movie. I did think for a comic book movie they did pretty good, almost going page for page with the comic,
It
but you don't
was,
see
and
it
that
very often.
may have been its downfall. That may have been its downfall. It didn't do all that well in the box office, except for us geeks.
Right.
And of
Yeah, I
course,
don't know. I loved it.
I've got the huge long version here at the house that's
Yeah,
got the tails of the black flater put back in there.
right.
Yeah,
What's funny is one of my favorite memories of reading that was when they keep flipping to the pirate tale or whatever, or the shipwreck, and then finally the kid reading it just all of a sudden like, man, what the heck does this shipwreck have to do with the rest of this thing? Like, this doesn't even make sense. I was like, man, I was thinking the same thing as I'm reading it, and it was just kind of funny to see as you're reading it, the guy in the thing you're reading is saying what you're thinking. Like, that's
that's
genius.
very meta, was it not?
That was
But
genius.
and when you read the Watchmen, there's a lot of prose in that you have to read. Like, for instance, the files that the psychologist makes when he's interviewing Rorschach. You
Yeah,
have to read through all of that, because if you skip a lot of background that's important to the story to understand why what's going on is happening.
right. No, it's one of those. I have the graphic novel, and I probably read it once a year. It's just one of those I keep going back to. And I'm the kind of
And oh
person, if I
yes, yes,
like
I
the
like the
movie,
movie.
yeah, if I like something once, if it's a movie or a book or whatever, I'm gonna enjoy it multiple times. I'm just that person. I don't mind reconsuming something I enjoyed.
I do the same thing, and what happens invariably when I do that is I catch stuff that I missed the first time around, or I understand something that I didn't quite understand the first time around watching it, because I caught maybe some background thing that was a clue to it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, or even like some themes or whatever that you'd maybe caught some of it, but you didn't connect all of the dots. And then the next couple times you read it, you're like, oh, that really makes this panel, a few before that mean a little more. You know what I mean? There's a lot in there, a lot to unpack, especially with the Watchmen.
And
Like you said, you got to read all those little bits because it connects a lot of dots.
well, Ian Sweeney's got a question here. He says, "Has anyone read the Batman 3 Jokers comic? I recently got a copy as part of my birthday present." Yeah, I'm sure you read it. I haven't had a chance to read that. I don't read comics like I used to, and I don't go to the comic book store and get a pull like I used to when I was younger. A lot of times it's a graphic novel, and I find it on the shelf whenever I hit a bookstore or something, which hasn't been often here recently. But I would like to read that story, and I'm sure there are ways of reading it. But I just haven't got a chance to do that yet.
I got mine for sale. It
You
wasn't for
do.
me. It wasn't for me.
You did.
That's all
You
I'm gonna
didn't
say.
like it.
I'm not gonna say
Okay.
I didn't like all of it, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't what the story didn't go where I wanted it to, or wasn't what I
Gotcha.
hoped it to be.
Well,
There are parts of it I enjoyed.
our tastes tend to run about the same there, Joneser, and that makes me reluctant to buy it, which means that either somebody's going to give it to me and I'll read it and decide whether I like it or not, or I'm going to read it through other measures,
For
maybe
me,
on a
the
boat
more
or
you
something.
go in the way, way back machine, the more I'll like the comic book.
Yeah. Well, I'm stuck in the Bronze Age, brother. I've been stuck in the Bronze Age for years, and the things that have happened, I would say from the late 90s, early 2000s up until now have not been to my taste.
Same for the most part. I mean, there are some modern stories I have enjoyed, and there are some modern books I still read. Like I still read the Fantastic Four, and I really like the stuff Dan Slott was doing with the Fantastic Four, and it felt, you know, I wouldn't say old school, but I mean, I was enjoying it. But I mean, I can't read a modern Batman book. I can't read a modern Batman book, or I can't read a modern Spider-Man book without, you know,
I understand. I understand, and it's getting ridiculous, and something's got to give at some point or another. And I'm wondering if Warner's and possibly even Disney are going to start farming out their comics to, you know, saying, okay, take the license and you do with it what you want, and just give us the money, where we don't have to spend the money on paying creators. We don't have to spend the money on artists and writers. You spend the money, and then you publish the comic, and then you give us our residuals. And I think that's where it's going to go.
See, my thought with the comic book business and the way it is today is they've retconned and rebooted 1 million times too many. And it's like, I get what they're doing. Like when they did the New 52, they were like, hey, we're going to kind of put everything from scratch, start over here, and this is going to be the new thing. And then all of a sudden Rebirth, and then you multiverse, and you did it again and again and again and again. So finally, you know, a person who's been reading this book for 30 years doesn't even know what the hell's going on anymore. And if he even does, they're going to scratch it and rewrite it next week anyway. So it almost feels like nothing matters.
Yeah, well, that brings up a good point. That brings up a good point, Joneser. Back in the day, I'm going to go DC Comics. I'm not going to do Marvel, because Marvel had their own little shenanigans that they pulled. But back in the day, DC Comics had what was called Earth 1 and Earth 2. And Earth 1 was where the modern day heroes lived, and Earth 2 was where the World War II era original versions of those heroes lived. And this began to get a little complicated, because then there was Earth S, where Captain Marvel and the Marvel family lived, and so on and so forth. But then somebody in their wisdom decided this was confusing the readers. Now, I wasn't confused by it. I don't know about you, Joneser, but it was confusing the readers. So they decided that they were going to have this big crisis event that combined all of this into one world. And so now the readers wouldn't be confused anymore.
And they sell a lot of comic books.
Yeah, and sell a lot of comic books. That's correct. Well, at the end of the day, this all happened, and it was all combined into one world. Well, you know what they say about good intentions. You know, the road to hell is paved with them. And a lot of unintended consequences happen to the continuity as a result of that. And then they had to start putting Band-Aids on this cancer here and there and everywhere that they would find these continuity gap holes, almost sucking black holes in some cases. Hawkman, I'm looking directly at you. And then it was like, every 2-3 years there was another crisis event, infinite crisis, this kind of crisis, that kind of crisis, the other kind of crisis, and all of these were supposed to fix these things, and all it did was make it worse and worse and worse. And finally they gave up, and they said, we're just going to restart the whole continuity over again with New 52. What a disaster that was. And then Rebirth came along and tried to fix that, and I gave up at that point, Joneser. I had been marginally keeping up with these things in certain ways, but at that point right there, I just said, I don't even care anymore. I'm just going to retreat into the Bronze Age, and anything that happened past that, I'm going to ignore.
See, for me, I just want there to be like some consequences, or like to care about this again. Like, I'll give a great example. Like when I was a teenager, when they did the Bane thing in the 90s, Bane broke the Batman. Now, when I read
Yeah.
that and we got to the part where he
Yeah.
threw him aside, like I was devastated. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
remember like, oh my God, you can't do this to Batman. Oh my, what's going to happen? You know, but you watch something like that happen now, and it's like, oh, they'll fix it next week. Like,
That's
I don't
because
know
they
if I'm,
did. Now, it may have taken a year or two to fix it, but they did fix it. That's
yeah,
the same thing with the Superman story.
right.
All of that was geared to sell comics. Now, at the
Well, it
time,
worked
you know,
because
we
I
were,
bought a lot of them. But I
yeah,
mean,
I
I
bought them
just,
too.
I don't know if it's me becoming an adult and becoming cynical, but when I was a kid and I saw that, I mean, I remember we were talking about it at school, and I mean, I was, oh my God, Batman's in a wheelchair now, and you know, it seemed permanent, it seemed real, you know, and I just want to read a comic where it
Yeah,
feels real again, you know, where like I'm invested in this character, what happens to him matters. Not just, oh, they'll retcon it next year and then it'll just all be done. It doesn't matter that Captain America is a Nazi. It doesn't matter that the Punisher joined the mob. It doesn't matter Daredevil can see, you know. It's like, no, they're ruining it, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah, and I understand that. And I'm kind of in the same boat you are, but I'm kind of to the point where I just want my heroes to be the way I remembered them. I don't want you to make, and I know in order for characters to progress, they have to progress. But when you're talking about pop culture icons, something that's going to stand the test of time, something that here and I tell you what, folks, this is my challenge to you. Okay, take a comic book that was written within the last 5 years, read it, and you will see there is such pointed content in there that 10 years from now, what they wrote is irrelevant. But you go back and you get those comics that were written in the late 60s and the early 70s, and you read those, and that content is still just as evergreen now as it was back then when it was written.
No, I agree. I mean, for me, my favorite stuff is, you know, the old Batman of the 70s and 80s, or the Spider-Man of the 60s. You know, the farther back you go, the more I like it. And yeah, maybe the lingo and what the slang words they use is changed with the times, but the themes and the lessons and what's important about it has stayed
Well,
true.
I'll give you a very good example. Uh, the Green Lantern, Green Arrow stories from those comics, they were very pointed back then. However, they're evergreen. You read them now, and they hit you just as freaking hard now as they did back then when you read them. But you read some of this, but you look at Superboy or Superman or whatever he is, the son of Kal-El, Superman.
Oh,
I
the
won't go
John
into
Kent.
very much detail on that. Those stories are not gonna matter for a hill of beans 5 years from now, 10 years from now. People have already
They didn't
forgotten that
even
story.
they didn't even matter now. That comic went from a decent selling comic to one of the worst selling comics to all the way to canceled. You know, I mean, they didn't even grab the audience they were intending to get. You know, is what the
That's
first issue
because the
did.
audience that it was written for don't read comic books. Okay,
Right.
that's what Disney needs to understand. That's what Marvel movies and Marvel comics need to understand. DC Comics needs to understand that. DC movies need to understand that. The people who hang out on Twitter and make all that noise over there on Twitter, they're not your audience. They're not reading your comics. They're not watching your movies. They're just making a whole lot of noise and blah, blah, blah on Twitter. The people who want to watch this stuff are the ones that you're turning away, and that's why you're losing money.
You know, and it's funny to me because I had it's not okay to not like something now. Like when the new He-Man came out and I didn't
Yeah.
like it. And they were like, oh, well, why didn't you like it? And it's like, well, they just made a lot of changes. And then someone just automatically like, well, what didn't you like? And it's like, well, I didn't like, you know, that they did move He-Man off and put Tila in. Oh, what, you hate women? Oh, they changed King Grayskull black. Oh, you hate black people? And it's like, no, I just didn't like it. Like, I cannot like it and not be this
Right.
horrible person. You know, I mean, it's okay for me to not like it. It wasn't what I wanted it to be.
Well,
it had nothing to do with racism
well,
or
here's the thing. Here's
sexism
the
or
thing,
any of
Anthony.
that.
Here's the thing, Anthony. The art of debate has been lost. It was lost 40 years ago, I think. The ability to sit down and discuss something and to talk about, like if I like something and you don't, or vice versa, but we still are friends, and I understand why you don't like it, even though I do. See, that's been lost here in America and across the globe too, apparently. In other words, if you don't have the same ideas that I do as a robot or something like that, then we can no longer be friends. Seems to be the attitude. Or if you dislike something that pop culture says that you shouldn't dislike, now you're problematic.
Yeah, you're some kind of a phobe. You're a racophobe, a homophobe, or something a phobe.
Yeah, and the word phobia has changed its meaning. Have you noticed that? Phobia used to mean being frightened of something, but now phobia means that you hate something. So if you're a homophobe, you hate homosexuals. Not that you're frightened of homosexuals, which is what, an arachnophobe is scared of spiders, right?
Right.
But it, they take our language and they put that little mean twist on it.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't make any sense to me to be afraid or hateful of any of that. And it's okay to not like something. Like if I didn't like the Miss Marvel movie, it's not because I hate women. Maybe I just didn't like the movie.
Right. It's because it's bad writing. I mean, you can hate bad writing without hating the people that are in it, or the characters, or whatever. And Trapjaw 72 says it took him a while to accept Motu Revelations. I mean, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, everybody who enjoyed that show, more power to you. I'm glad you did. And I liked certain aspects of it. Go ahead, Anthony.
No, I was just agreeing. Saying I liked certain pieces of the show. I didn't like all of the show. I didn't hate all of the show, but it wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and one of the things that really, really, really made me pause and kind of upset me deeply was the fact that Kevin Smith told stories that weren't true.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Well, he also kind of sold the show under a false pretense because
he did.
pretended to be
and he said that Clownfish TV were lying, and then it turned out Clownfish TV was absolutely correct. Yes. And then he said that he remembered running home from school every day so he could watch He-Man on television. And then we found out that he was a grown man, so he didn't run home from school every day to watch He-Man at that time because he was grown up already. And then we found out that he had tweeted years ago that He-Man wasn't in his bag. He didn't like He-Man at all.
Right. Which is okay if he didn't like it. If he didn't like it, he could still
but don't tell me that you're the greatest He-Man fan in the world when you really aren't.
Right.
That's,
because he was lying.
And no, you don't have to be the greatest He-Man fan in the world to be the showrunner for a He-Man cartoon show. I didn't say that either. But the fact that you're coming out here and you're telling these things that aren't true makes me pause, because I'm wondering what your true intentions are in all of that.
Oh, I know exactly what his true intentions were. It was to get his foot in the door on Netflix. He even said that.
Exactly.
He said, Netflix hasn't picked up anything I've pitched them. Then they pitched to him to do this, so he took it, even though he probably didn't want it. But he just said, this will get my foot in the door on Netflix. I can get my other crap in if I do this show.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then he gets renewed for season 2 because the toy sold well.
And the way he shields for Marvel and DC because he'd love to do a movie for them. Have you seen him do that? That's where all those tears come from. Those crocodile tears that he can make show up at will.
Yeah, it's a shame because I was a big fan of his early work. Like I like to watch Clerks and I watched Mallrats.
Oh yeah, and there's nothing wrong. I love those movies. The View Askew stuff. Yeah, and that's where he belongs.
Right.
Okay, that's what he needs to go back to making, because Fat Kevin Smith and Skinny Kevin Smith, in my opinion, are two different people.
Right.
Sweeney says most of my comic experience was via animated TV shows, aside from Transformers, but I've started getting into comics. Here's the thing: the cartoon shows, as great as they are, could never go into the depth that the comics did, because the comics were an ongoing story that happened over years. And the cartoon shows only have a certain amount of episodes in which to get that point across that they had lots of time to tell in the comics. So when you're going back and you're reading a comic story, and I'll give you a perfect example. I have the Jack Kirby omnibus that tells the whole story of the Fourth World. It would take me forever to read through that thing, so I just read it one comic at a time in there. But that story took years to unfold. But whenever it gets retold in a couple of episodes. So you miss a lot of that really, really small stuff.
I can give you a great example of that too, but it'd be the movie. Have you ever seen the Dark Knight 3 or the Christian Bale Batman, the third one?
Yes.
Or they did
yes.
Bane. I'll say where they tried to shove all that year's worth of Bane comic books into one movie, which, even though it was a long movie, you still can't do that. But they did get one thing right. When we got to the part where Bane's beating on Batman and he breaks him, I looked across the movie theater and I saw a little kid. No, and I'm like, that was how I felt when I read it in the comic. So they got that feeling right with the kids, because the kids were devastated watching Bane slap their hero around. So they got that theme that they needed for the movie. But I mean, yeah, was it a tit for tat off the comics? It couldn't be.
Oh, okay. We've triggered Rolo here. Kevin, who? That depressive bearded hole that punched yesterday. So we've triggered Rolo. He's ranting now, almost incomprehensible there. So yeah. And Jim Largo's made it home cool. Talking King Kirby, he says, welcome back. Bill was just saying how much better new comics are to the classics. No, I did not. No, I said the classic comics were better. Thank you, Wilhelm. He's laughing. Okay. But Largo, if you want to hop on, you can. And Wilhelm, if you want to hop on, you can. And Trapjaw72 says, all hail to the king. And that would be Kirby himself. And, my daughter, who's 29 years old, I had to sit her down one day and I said, you like the Hulk, right? She said, yeah. Thank Jack Kirby. I said, you like Captain America, right? And she said, yeah. I said, thank Jack Kirby. And I went down the line of all the characters that he has touched over the years and has been responsible for. And she just stopped and she sat back and she said, oh, I always thought you were just full of crap when you said he was the king. And I said, no. Kirby, if it hadn't been Jack Kirby, none of the things that we like would be here today. And did you know, Joneser, that Jack Kirby had an influence on Masters of the Universe as well?
I did not.
And I'll tell you how. Right before the Masters of the Universe, and right before they were going to do Conan but decided not to, they were going to do a Fourth World figure line based upon Jack Kirby stuff. And guess what? What happens when a toy company goes through all the trouble of R&D and something and making prototypes for stuff and making pictures and getting their guys to work on this stuff, and it falls through? What do they do with all that stuff? They fold it into the next toy line. And that's why you see such Jack Kirby influences in Masters of the Universe. And I'll give you a good example. And that's the figure that we're going to look at on Sunday here. And you've already looked at him on your show. Look at Mechanic and look at all the Jack Kirby influences that you see there.
Yeah, no, that's a no-brainer. He's definitely out of that mind.
Go back and read the original DC Comics where He-Man showed up. DC Comics presents the insert that they did and the 3-issue miniseries, and look at Zodak's chair. That looks awful familiar. Who rode in a chair like that?
Maybe Orion.
Metron.
Oh yeah. Orion had that exoskeleton rocket.
Yeah, but Orion had the thing with the tubes coming out of it.
Yeah.
But Metron actually rode in a chair just like Zodak's chair. All of that Jack Kirby stuff even influenced Masters of the Universe. So there you go, folks. You learned it right here if you didn't know it already. Jack Kirby also did the box art for the Big Jim Wolfpack. And see, Big Jim influenced Motu as well. Trap Jaw is based upon Iron Jaw, the one of the bad guys from Big Jim.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff was the tooling was stolen too, like the Fighting Eagle.
Yeah, like the cats, exactly. And Beastman's whip is just a whip from a Big Jim figure. Yeah, that's right. Metron rode in a Mobius chair, is what his chair was called. Wilhelm Twin hobby. They would shoot you with rock salt if they caught you on or around the trains. Yeah, I don't know what that's about, but that sounds like an interesting story. I'd like to hear more about that, Wilhelm. So, did you know that Jack Kirby had this kind of an influence on so many different things, Joneser?
I did not, but quite honestly, I think a lot of people, even to this day, are stealing from them, whether they know it or not. You know, I mean, he had such an influence on the business and in the medium as a whole, you know, that, I mean, even people who were inspired by him did work who are now inspired by it and so on and so forth. I think it had a ripple effect that, I mean, it just couldn't be ignored.
Yeah. And see, everybody saw that Thanos showed up in the movies before Darkseid ever did. And then they say that Darkseid was ripping off Thanos. No, it's a kind of the other way around, folks. Darkseid was around way before Thanos was ever a thought. And Thanos, I don't even know that Thanos was even meant to be Darkseid when he first showed up. He was just another character in the Marvel Universe.
He rode around in a little yellow helicopter for a while.
I think that was in a Spidey Super Story. And Thanos copter, in my opinion, should have showed up in the damn movie. At one time, I wanted that there to be a one-off scene with Thanos getting in a damn Thanos copter. That would have been hilariously funny, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's even a scene, I think, in that same comic where he gets arrested by two normal cops and they like take him away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Spidey Super Stories were a thing. All right, here's Largo. I'm going to bring him on the screen here. Hey, Largo, what's happening, man?
Largo.
Another fun-filled day of crazy traffic, dodging the motorcycles and the little tuk-tuks on the road. How you doing?
Yeah, I know it's kind of busy down there in Guatemala, isn't it? Trapjaw says Stan Lee got all the glory from Kirby's work. As a matter of fact, if you go back and you read Mr. Miracle comics from back in the day, there was a character that showed up called Funky Flashman. Do you remember the character of Funky Flashman there, Anthony?
You know, I don't know if I do. You might have to remind me.
All right. Well, Funky Flashman was a manager, and he was a sleazeball piece of crap, and he was all fake. He had this big beard and this big head of hair, but found out that all of that was just a wig, and the beard and mustache came off, and he was just fake, all the way around fake. But when he had the beard and the mustache on and his dark sunglasses, he looked just like Stan Lee did back in the early 70s.
What a coincidence.
So yeah, Jack got his digs in whenever he could. Yeah.
There were a lot of cool little Easter eggs with the different writers.
Well, and even Steve Ditko for Spider-Man.
All right, Ian Sweeney wants to know what Superman comics or stories. What Superman comics or stories would you recommend? Ask Ian Sweeney. So, Joneser, I'll start with you. What Superman comics would you recommend that Ian Sweeney read?
I really like the Superman for All Seasons. That was a very good one.
Jeff
I
Loeb?
think it was done by the same people who did the Batman, The Long Halloween. It was Tim Sale and the other guy's name's escaping me.
Jeff Loeb, I believe.
There it is. Yeah, and I think they did a fantastic job. That was probably one of the best Superman comics I've ever read. I think you can get the graphic novel if you don't want to track down the issues. That'd be number one on my list.
All right, Largo, what would you recommend?
Well, that one's an excellent one. There was another one they did recently, All-Star Superman, which I believe was Grant Morrison.
I've read that. That was a very good story.
Because it kind of borrows from the Golden Age kind of Superman, but it's a new story. It was well done. I recommend that one.
And now mine, and believe it or not, mine is the Alan Moore, the final Superman story that was told over 2 issues. It started in Superman and ended in Action Comics, and it was the story of the end of the Bronze Age Superman. And
whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow?
I've read that.
It.
Yeah, I've read
that.
Great story.
That's a great story, and it brings the story to a close. And at that point, it's over for me. Now,
sure.
I admit, I enjoyed John Byrne's run on Superman, and I got all of those issues of Man of Steel when it came out, and it led perfectly into the new Superman #1. And of course, they changed Superman to Adventures of Superman, and Jerry Ordway was doing the artwork over there and styling it after the old Superman television show with George Reeves, which was great.
Really good.
Like that. But it progressed to a certain point, and then it just fell off the edge, and that was around the time of the death of Superman. And but like I said, I kind of have progressed back into the Bronze Age. And that's where I live
Ordway
now.
also did another good run. He did a run on Shazam where he kind of that same idea where he kind of borrowed a lot from the golden age of comics.
He did, and what he did was very interesting too. They had tried so many different times to redo Captain Marvel at DC Comics, and it all started for me with an issue of Secret Origins, where they showed the secret origins of the Golden Age Captain Marvel, with Billy Batson in the subway train coming, and that issue of Secret Origins. Well, that led into the Shazam miniseries, which was awful. The one that came right after that miniseries.
That was him and his dad riding around in a Winnebago on TV, or
no?
Yes.
No.
I mean,
no. This was back. They did the Legends miniseries. Okay, the Legends miniseries was the first crossover miniseries that they did after Crisis on Infinite Earths. Okay, and Captain Marvel, Billy Batson, shows up in the Legends miniseries, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But they did a miniseries for Shazam after that, and that was awful. It was terrible. I hated every bit of that. But when Jerry
they were trying to make everything dark and edgy because that was what was becoming the trend.
That's where everything was going at that point in comics. Anyway, I mean, Dark Knight Returns, which is a great story. I love what Miller did with that, but the problem with that was it was so well done and people liked it so much that now everybody wanted to copy it. So everybody had to be dark and brooding and.
Right. But even Frank Miller wasn't trying to set a tone for the comics. He was telling Elseworlds or a separate story that wasn't continuity. He wasn't trying to get everybody to copy him.
No, he wasn't. But that's the thing. Those who can't copy, so they want to make some of that money too. So they look at what's making money and they say, okay, I'm going to do this too and make me some of that money. And
right.
that's what happened. But when Jerry,
it's kind of like. Go ahead, Bill.
when Jerry Ordway got a hold of Captain Marvel, he created Fawcett City for them to live in.
Mm-hmm.
Fawcett City, I love that. He started bringing in modern day interpretations of the mythos, such as Mr. Talkie Tawny. He brought back Mary Marvel, the whole bit, and the way he did it was great in those comics. I love Jerry Ordway. Of course, you don't see him doing much anymore because all of those guys are on the outs over there. It's all woke now.
And that's the big difference in writing for comics or writing for television or for film. If you don't love the source material, don't put your hands in it. And that's what we've got is all these folks that get in there. They don't even like the source material, never read the comics, don't know the character or even the side characters that really make up.
And it's noticeable. Mythos. It's noticeable when they start destroying the characters. I mean, they destroyed Mary Marvel. They destroyed one of the most, I don't know,
pure,
just good characters. She's a sweet little girl. Mm-hmm. And they turned her into this thing. Why?
Yeah, they turned her dark for some reason.
Well, even look at what happened with Netflix and The Witcher 3. That's just like what Largo's talking about, where they didn't have a love for the source material, and they started, moving away from it, and they chased away the actor who played Geralt, who I thought did a great job.
Yeah, if the rumors are true, a lot of kudos to Henry Cavill because he told them, he said, if I love the books, I play the games, and as long as you guys are true to the story material, I'll play this character. When you guys start going off on a tangent, I'm out. And he said, I'm out.
Yeah, he's out. He's out. He's not going to be in it anymore because he's pissed off at what they've done. And kudos. That's very based of him, I think. Yeah, I really did.
Were you guys ever fans of The Witcher, or did you read any of the books or watch any of it? Or
I read some of the one of the I guess it was like a collection of some of the short stories, and I remember it had the one with the genie in it. I can't remember the name of it. That's the one, The Last Wish. Yeah, that was great.
I read all the books. I played the video game. When I watched the Netflix show for season 1, I was kind of on board. It had me. And then right when it started getting into season 2, I was like, something's going wrong here. This character's not supposed to be like that. This is not supposed to be this way. What, this guy dies now? What? That doesn't make sense. So, and then I started to see it. I don't even think I finished season 2.
Yeah, in season 1, they jumped back and forth in time. It was a little confusing, but the stories reminded me much of what I had read. And it's like, okay, I can dig this. But you're right. Season 2 just took a left turn.
Absolutely. I didn't even finish it. I think I'm like 3 episodes in. I was like, done.
Yeah, because they put The Witcher in the back seat and they killed Roach. You can't kill his horse, man. That's not cool.
Yeah. I mean, like there's a moment where they meet, I think it's Eskel at the Witcher Keep. And in the books, man, they paint this picture. It's raining, the horses come in, lightning strikes the castle, the girl sees the guy's face. It's this twisted mask of scars. And, it's got this horror vibe to it. Then you see the guy in the show, and he's this young, handsome dude who's all arrogant. I'm like, that's not Eskel. Who's this guy? Like,
some things just don't translate.
My lowest expectation was met.
Well, like Largo said, these people don't like the source material in the first place, and they arrogantly think they can make it better than what it was with their ideas.
Yeah, and we're seeing that a lot in a lot of the comic books. I mean, I'm an old school like you guys. I like Bronze Age. I like Silver Age, but I love both Marvel and DC for different storylines and different writers, and both houses have just gone nutso in the last 15, 20 years. The good writers have all retired, and the up and coming kids don't care about source material, want to make their own spin on it. And it's like, nah, I'm not digging it.
Well, I don't know who said this. I'm not going to take credit for it myself, but I believe this inherently. What happens is a lot of these writers, especially the young ones, they want to skip ahead. So what they do is that they take their story and they apply it to something that they don't have any business applying it to instead of trying to write their own thing. So they'll take a character that we love, like James T. Kirk, for instance, or Picard on Star Trek, or Star Wars is a good example. Obi-Wan Kenobi, maybe, just for example. I'm just not saying that happened, but I'm saying it for an example. And they'll say, okay, I'm going to write my story, but I'm going to use that character so I can skip all this work that you have to do to get to this point. And then
Right. They
that's
want
why
the instant credibility without
that's
earning
it right there. And instead of writing their own story, they take our beloved pop culture characters and ruin them.
Yeah, that's one thing also with DC that they did right with the Golden and Silver Age. They figured out with using Earth 1 and Earth 2 before they did the whole Crisis on Infinite Earths and got things all discombobulated. You had legacy characters. You know, Batman
Exactly.
married Catwoman. They had a kid. That kid became the Huntress. They had, Superman and Lois Lane got married. They settled down. They had a kid. That was Power Girl. I mean, all these characters were legacy characters that they were new and fresh ideas, but they still paid homage to the originals. They let the characters get old. They let them have lives beyond just that what made them popular in the first place.
I see
And
you
then
itching to jump in over there, Anthony. Tell me what's on your mind, man. I can see the
I was
wheels
just
turning.
nodding in agreement. I love everything he's saying. Like, I mean, even
yeah,
like
we're on the same page.
Wally West comes in for Barry Allen
Yeah,
as the Flash. They let Kid Flash be the big Flash. I mean, it's like,
it
yeah,
made
you felt
sense.
like it was progressing. It was moving onwards and upwards. And
Yep.
yeah, I liked what he was
Yeah.
saying, so I was head bobbing.
I hated what they did with Hal Jordan and making, I'm glad they redeemed him later, but the whole thing of him kind of going off the rails was sad. But they had
Yeah,
Jon
the
Stewart, and then they
parallax
had
story. I like to pretend that never happened.
yeah, it wasn't a great
I like
moment, but we did get Kyle Rayner, and he was kind of different. It was an interesting take, and then the good writers came back in and said, well, how do we fix Green Lantern? It's like, well, we'll make Kyle the torchbearer. He was the one keeping the flame alive while they're trying to get the Lantern Corps back to the normal. It's like, okay, yeah, that'll work.
It's funny you say pretend that never happened. I kind of do that with a lot of pop culture. If I don't like it, it's not in my head canon. I'm just like, what? Oh yeah, no, he didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm that way with Star Wars.
Woke up. I think they rewrote it by now. Anyway, it's gone.
I love the original 3 movies. The prequels I could take or leave, and then the modern stuff that is not in my canon. I ignore it. It didn't happen.
Absolutely.
Well, a lot of people have misused the term over the years. You ruined my childhood. None of this shit's ruined my childhood.
No,
childhood
it's still there.
is still the same childhood that it always was. And
Yep.
all of those stories still exist. And if I want to retreat back to those stories and live in that era, anytime I want to, I can.
Mm-hmm.
Just because somebody wrote some trash today doesn't mean that I have to read it and that it overwrites everything that happened before.
Oh,
exactly.
Gone. Change the channel. You know what I mean? You don't have to watch
it. That's another thing. That's another thing that's happened today. If you don't like something, you change the channel or you don't watch it, which is what I do.
Same.
I don't go out and try to destroy that thing, though, and say, okay, you can't create that because I didn't like it. I mean, that's screwed up, right? But that seems to be what a lot of people seem to think. If they don't like something, it's their job to not only go out and proselytize to everyone else how much it's hated and get them to join in with them, but now we must take this away from everyone else so they can't have it either.
Yeah, it's like Bill and I are Whovians. I'm not sure, Jones, or if you're into Doctor Who or not, but
no, not really.
They had a great character that was 50 some odd years old, and they had a great gimmick where he could regenerate. So you could bring in a new character, a new actor to play the same character. Great idea. Worked well for a long time. They took a hiatus in the 80s when the stories weren't great, and then it came back like gangbusters in the was it early 90s, late 90s? I forget. But when
it was in 2004.
Oh, that's right.
When Russell
they brought it back.
Russell T.
Davies
it back.
Yeah, and they were doing
great. It was great. There in that first episode, where the doctor turns around and he says, "I can see it all. I can feel the turn of the earth. I can feel time moving." And he makes this long speech, and goose pimples came up across my skin, and something just shot up my spine, and I went, and I turned to my wife and I said, "That's the doctor. It's back."
Yep.
And,
because you had a
was.
writer who loved the originals. He loved the original character. He wanted to bring it back, and he cared about making good stories, doing good storytelling, and it went well up until this last hurrah. And it's like, if you want to make a female Time Lord, you've got Romana, you've got the Doctor's daughter from Tennant's run. There are all kinds of characters you could bring in and do a spin-off series, or even, retire the Doctor for a while or whatever.
Let me interrupt you there, Blago. I want to make a point to those Whovians that may be out there. Now, Doctor Who has always been a progressive show. Let's just say,
yeah.
I can remember even back in John Pertwee's time, there were several episodes dealing with the environment and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not what we're upset about. I'm not even upset that they decided to change the Doctor's gender during a regeneration. They had already tested the waters with that years ago, and they with a couple of different characters, including the Master, and it worked out well for them, and nobody said anything about it. So changing the Doctor's gender wasn't the problem. The problem was with the writing. The writing absolutely sucked, and not only that, the writing sucked. Then they decided that they were going to monkey with the lore. We're going to fix it so that Bill Hartnell was never the first Doctor, and that the Doctor's not even the character that you'd always thought he, she, whatever was. We're going to change everything that you loved about this show.
Yeah, and it's like there was another British show. Was it Broadchurch? I think it's called. It's like a police drama, and Jodie Whittaker and David Tennant were in that, and they were great. So it's not Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah,
it's Chibnall's just a bad writer. Yeah,
Chibnall is a piece of crap, and his ideas sucked, and he wanted to take a show that it was very well established and take away all of what established that show for what it was and change it into something totally different. And when you do that, you start to lose your fans, because you see it every day. Oh, this show wasn't written for you. It was written for the new people that are going to watch it. Well, wait a minute.
Right.
If it hadn't been for me, this show wouldn't still be around 50 years later.
Right. There's a way to write and come up with fresh ideas to bring in another generation and still keep the original fans happy. It can be done. It has been done. Doctor Who's done it for a long time.
The Obi-Wan series on Disney Plus.
I didn't watch it. I've
just
kind of got Star Wars
and
burnout.
I could tell right off the bat that it was originally supposed to have been a movie, and that it was padded out into a miniseries, and that the main character, we found out later, was supposed to have been Luke Skywalker, but they changed it to Princess Leia.
Which doesn't make much sense, because he was supposed to be keeping an eye on Luke.
Well, honestly, she didn't even know who he was, except as a person that her father had told her about. So this put a monkey wrench in everything. However, Luke knew exactly who old Ben was. Go ahead, Jones.
Actually, there's a workaround in that plot hole, because I pointed that out to a friend of mine, that the plot hole was Leia had never met him, but she did not know Obi-Wan Kenobi, but in the show, he announces himself as Ben Kenobi. And if you watch in A New Hope, when Luke Skywalker says, "I'm here with Ben Kenobi," she lights up, "Ben Kenobi," And so it's somewhat explained, but
Joneser, I tell you what you do, man. DM me your address. I've got a no prize coming your way, man.
I remember those.
What I was getting at, though, I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but I watched the show with my kids with very low expectations. I just kind of came in, I'm going to watch this with my kids, and we're just going to see what it is. And maybe because I came in with low expectations, I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. It has some high moments, but I'll tell you what, like Lyric's a real big Darth Vader guy. And when Darth Vader walked in, cracked that sword, lifted somebody up, slammed them in the wall, was choking people, Lyric's like, wait. So we had to pause it. He runs off. I'm like, what's this kid doing? Like, are you ready, bud? No, wait.
Toys.
He come out, he's dressed up in his Darth Vader Halloween gimmick and got his thing on. Okay, you can start it now, and he's pantomiming.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That's keeping it alive. Now, Sweetie's got a question for all of us here. He says, "What would you say is your unpopular opinion about popular culture, modern or classic?"
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Start with you, Largo.
Well, it may be an unpopular opinion, but I would say, as a Gen Xer, I know that my flavor and what I consider pop culture is finite. It will end. And what I enjoy is not going to be pop culture in 10 years or maybe even less. Who knows? So I can accept that the things I love are never going to be the way they were when I loved them. You know, I've got my nostalgia goggles on. I'm looking back at stuff, and I'm always going to be not crazy about the newest rendition. I'll give it a try. I gave Revelations a try, but I wasn't a fan. But,
well,
I saw hints of something good in there.
Well, you bring up a pretty good point there, Largo. Pop culture is pop culture to a certain point or for a certain period of time, and then it becomes nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to that question there, Joneser?
I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion, but to me, the music's different. And what I mean is the music's different. It's not like some cranky old man like, your music sucks. And back in my day, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the music's different. And what I mean by that is like when I was a kid, you went to the store and you got either a record or a tape or an 8-track or whatever you got. You opened up what was inside. You read the song lyrics. You experienced it. There were some deep cuts in the tracks, like the ones that weren't on the radio. You had to dig a little deeper. These kids nowadays, man, they just put on the song that's on the radio. They know the 1 or 2 songs the band's known for, and that's it. They don't know anybody's name. They don't know anything about anything.
Yeah.
They think they're enjoying the music, but to me, it's like they don't even know what it is.
When we were kids, you would enjoy the album as an experience, and a lot of the albums would tell a story. All the songs were meant to go together.
Yeah. Well,
and there was no auto-tune either.
How many albums and bands and even songs going from say the early 70s through the mid 80s, and I'm talking stuff like Aerosmith, I'm talking stuff like Led Zeppelin, I'm talking stuff like Deep Purple, all of this stuff. We got Adam from Radical Toys. I'll pop him in the stream and continue to talk. But anyway,
hey Adam.
He disconnected.
Awesome.
Try again, Adam. Anyway, all of these songs are still played on the radio today. They are here. He's back. And put him in. But anyway, these songs are evergreen to the point to where they're almost like modern day classical music because it continues to go. How much of today's music is going to be that way in the future? None of it. Zero. Absolutely goose egg.
I think a big part of that is like I said with auto-tune. When we were coming up, if you didn't have the chops, if you couldn't play and you couldn't sing, the engineer, the sound could be mixed to a point, but you had to have some talent. Now anybody can use auto-tune and put something out.
Absolutely. Yeah, you had to have some talent. You had to be good. You couldn't be in the band if you weren't good. In fact, I remember like auditioning for bands as a drummer. If you didn't, you couldn't read the music off the stand, or you didn't know your rudiments or your chops, man, you weren't in. You're out. Yep. They got a guy who can do all that.
Oh, Ben Stutman comes in and drop a like and tell us that we're doing nice work. Appreciate that, man. Thanks, and Masters Maniac Co. He says 14 guests and 12 likes. Damn, Mexican Mafia stole at least 2 thumbs up. Anyway, how's it going there, Adam over there at Radical Toys?
Oh, good. I just caught your stream there. I just got done making supper there. I guess I'll just eat it later, but it's cool. And I had such an awesome friggin' night the other night with their Mr. Largo. Man, that was a freaking awesome night. I am doing one of those like again. We had
That
we
was
had
fun.
like a 1984 to 1987 toy catalog from Sears and Toys R Us. I'm doing it again because I found another one even better than the last one. So I can't
there's
wait.
all kinds of cool stuff in there. I mean, I was
Oh yeah,
seeing, toys that I'd forgotten, and
yeah.
pajamas and this and that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool.
I saw
remember that.
stuff in there I didn't even know existed. I was like, what the heck is this? It was just so fun. It was
Yeah.
such an awesome day. What have you been
Yeah.
doing, Jones, or what have you been up to?
Working, but not as much anymore.
So
Is
your hours finally down?
40 hours.
So is your 60 hours finally down?
Yeah, we're back down to normal slave schedule.
Okay.
We're in the 30-40 hour range now.
I think we're gonna get 4 days for Thanksgiving. We're gonna get the Thanksgiving the day after, and then Saturday and Sunday, and then back Monday we start back up again hard at it, trying to get those orders out.
Same here.
You guys get a kind of a run up towards the holidays. Everybody's trying to get stuff out before the time off, or
My boss tries to squeeze 5 days of work into 3 days.
Yeah. I hear you.
yep.
I like Salt brings up a good point. You never know who might be watching. Just let me take a moment once again. I said it at the beginning of the stream, but there weren't a lot of people here. I want to say it one more time. Saturday Night Up All Night is an after show for AOM TV, yes, but no, I will not be showing AOM content on my show. Unless John Paul Revere is actually on the show, I will not be showing any AOM content. And I don't think I have ever shown any AOM content except the time that he was on the show. However, on the last Saturday's Up All Night, I did show the very ending of his show in credits in the corner of the screen, about right here. It was in a small box in the corner of the screen. I was showing his end credits as my stream start title card was up. I will not be doing that anymore any longer either, because I don't want to step on his toes. He's a friend of mine, and I want him to continue to be a friend of mine. And I say this once again to him directly, because I know he lurks in my channel. If I ever overstep my bounds, you let me know, and do not be reluctant to let me know, because I want to make it right. Now, let's continue where we were talking. We were talking about pop culture. We were talking about where pop culture ends sometimes and where nostalgia begins. And we were talking about some of the things that we love and how they've changed over time. And we've been talking about popular and unpopular opinions. So,
Bill,
Adam,
can you pull up that Ian Sweeney question again for Adam to take a look at? I'd like to hear what he has.
Yeah, let me get up here and find it. He had a very good question that he asked us, if I can find it. It was up here. Here it is. Ian Sweeney said, "What would you say is your unpopular opinion about popular culture?" And it could be either modern or classic. So it's an opinion that you have about popular culture that would be unpopular.
I don't know. Let's see.
What would you say? It's a deep question.
It is.
So, yeah, Largo basically was talking about. He realizes that at some point, what he considers popular culture is no longer going to be what's popular in today's world, and that it's going to become simply nostalgia. And what Anthony had said was that he doesn't like the way music has gone from being an experience of going to the record store and buying the album, coming home, reading the liner notes, going carefully over the cover and looking at all the different aspects of the artwork on the cover, going through and listening to each track on there, even the deep cuts that would never hit the radio, and just experiencing that from that point. So that'll give you an idea of what they said.
Well,
and of course, I haven't said anything yet because I've been listening to everybody else. So,
I guess I can add anything that. Yeah, absolutely. I would say probably movies.
Yeah, it's kind of
movies is a different thing now. Like now, you can just sit home and you can download films and you can just go on torrents and stuff like that. It's not like the day when we were in the stores and we'd pick up the box art and we used to look at it. Remember Blockbuster, stuff like that back in those days. So it's a lot of different.
Hold on just a second, Adam. And nothing against you. I love you. But you said the T word. We don't say that on my channel. We use a code word for it. You can either say watch it on a ship, or you can cover your eye and then make out like you're a pirate. But I didn't even
realize what I said. What did I say? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I don't want to condone people swiping music illegally online.
Susan, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
We don't condone that here at all. Although sometimes
I don't. I was just making a point, like not saying any of us.
I understand. Yeah. But you can make the point without using the word that the little bot will catch a hold of and ding my channel for, and that goes for everybody else on your own channels. Be careful what you say. Things are watching and listening on YouTube.
I don't know how to ask what word he used without.
I know what word it is. I know what word
it is. It starts with a B and the second word starts with a T.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can text it to you on Instagram, Jones, or what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll tell you what he said, but yeah, we don't use that word because that word triggers the little animals.
I feel like I'm on Pee Wee's Playhouse, like I'm gonna say it and everybody's gonna scream.
What's the secret word?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You're right, Adam. The experience of going to the movies and watching a movie that every shared experience, if you will. The coof has put a big bite out of that. First of all, the second, I'm not going to spend the amount of money that it takes to take me and my wife and possibly my daughter and maybe her friend or her boyfriend or whatever, and us all go to the movies to watch a stinker. Okay, where I spend dollars buying tickets, popcorn, drinks, one of those big pretzels that you put the mustard on. You know what I'm talking about, Jones? Or you put mustard all over that big old huge pretzel and you eat that sucker in there. Raisinets and goobers. And now I've spent $200 and I watched and I watched the stinkingest, rottenest movie that's ever been made on the face of the earth. I walk out of there and I feel like that I've been rolled in an alley.
Yeah, it's saying? Bill, you and I are probably about in the same age group for that. You remember going to the drive-through, or I mean the drive-in. You go to the drive-in, it wasn't that expensive, movies. And you paid for a carload, and you might even throw a couple guys in the trunk, so you didn't have to pay by the head for them. And then if the movie was a stinker, you just kind of hang out and go to the concession stand or whatever. It was an event. But it didn't.
Well,
it didn't
a lot of times
to do it.
Well, I don't know about you, but a lot of times I wasn't even watching it at all.
Well,
who cares what was on the screen?
Yeah, that's another story.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, because those cars back in the day, we had a big old back seat.
Those days are over with too. First of all, there are very few drive-ins left. I think there's one in Memphis called the Summer Drive-In. But even that experience is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
But,
do you guys remember speaking of drive-ins, do you guys remember what your first movie was? I remember my first drive-in movie, and I'll never forget it. It was Terminator 2. That was my first one I've ever seen. Yeah, in the drive-in, yeah.
Actually, I think mine was a cheesy Disney movie called The Apple Dumpling Gang.
I don't remember going to the drive-ins as a child. I remember going to a drive-in as an adult. And I remember one of the most fun drive-in movies that I ever went to was with my wife. We watched The Crow at a drive-in movie theater, and it was raining outside while we were watching it, which I thought was appropriate.
Yeah, it was a very rainy movie.
But going back to the shared experience of going to a movies, it costs too much to get that shared experience now. And so I found that I just ended up watching it on.
Anyway. You can get it on your
Disney
Netflix
Plus
or your Hulu or your Amazon.
Yeah, I All right. I'm going to trigger. I'm going to trigger Rolo. So y'all get ready for it down in the chat. I watched Thor, Love, Love and Thunder, on Disney Plus, and that that was an awful movie. Okay, it just sucked butt, and I'm glad I didn't waste my money at the movie theater to see that awful trash. And woke Condia Forever is now in the movie theaters right now, from what I understand. And I was told that I wasn't even supposed to go watch that movie. It was absolutely not for me, and that I wasn't allowed to go see it. And as far as I'm concerned, I was like, okay, great. I won't spend my money in a movie theater to go see it because I wasn't going to go anyway. And I'll just wait for it to show up on Disney Plus as well. And I might watch. Yeah, I told y'all what was going to happen when I said that. I did. I told y'all exactly what was going to happen. And
well, another good experience was like what Adam was saying about going to the. Go ahead. Disney probably. Oh, okay. Yeah, Adam was talking about going to get movies at the video store. I remember because again, you could rent a video cheap, and sometimes you'd go wander down the aisles and see you just saw a cover. It's like, I've never heard of this movie. It might stink. I
got one for you guys. I don't know about you, Jones, but I know that Largo's old enough to remember this. I can remember the days when you went to the video store to rent a movie, you also rented the DVD, the VCR to watch it with too, and it was like this.
Yeah,
it was this huge.
Yeah.
And you'd bring the VCR home and you'd hook it up to your TV so you could watch the movies that you just rented. And we usually rented about 4 or 5 movies, and it was a weekend of watching movies because you had to have all that shit back in the video store by Monday afternoon, including that the VCR player.
I can remember like trying to find a bad movie. Like we'd get like the Toxic Avenger or like something, where it's like, I hope this movie is every bit is what I think it looks like,
That's how I fell in love with Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I'd never heard of it until I saw it in a video store.
That maybe it's not supposed to be an Oscar winner. It might be good with some popcorn,
Well,
everything I ever learned about Canada was from that Strange Brew. You remember that one?
Strange Brew.
That's
Strange Brew. That's true to. Yeah, Strange Brew is true to life, right, Adam? That's how Canadians live.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm pulling your leg.
Who remembers Galaxina?
I've seen it.
No. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was like a really cheesy Barbarella ripoff.
Kind of like the Flesh Gordon.
Flesh Gordon. I actually have Flesh Gordon in my collection here at the household.
I remember the Toxic Avengers. I remember that movie. That movie was cheesy.
Yes.
I think it was supposed to be a horror comedy.
Yeah, all those Troma films were really bad, but they're so bad they're good.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the idea was. It was so bad.
I'm also a big fan of Mystery Science Theater.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Mystery Science Theater 3000 told us, even though you think a movie's bad, there are much worse movies out there in this world. And if you know, Plan 9 from Outer Space was never, ever shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000. But that's probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen as far as it goes. There was some really shitty things happened making that movie. For instance, they went to the old folks' home where Bela Lugosi was living. And they had Bela come outside and walk around a little bit outside the old folks' home. And seriously now, and they filmed him.
They filmed it.
So that they could put him in the damn movie and say that Bela Lugosi played the main character in the movie. Well, what happened? Whenever they would have the close-up of Bela Lugosi, they had like somebody that worked on the film's dentist with a cape held up over his face like this right here. Largo, you remember that, Largo, right? Am I right?
I saw the movie Ed Wood with Johnny Depp where they explained the making of Plan 9, and it was a train wreck. But yeah, they did some shenanigans.
It was pretty rough, but so yeah. But when you see a movie like that, sometimes it's worth watching at least once, just so you can say you've seen it.
Yep.
Or it could just be an experience.
See, Rolo continues to rant. The price is paid. Now choose your upcoming husband. 4 on screen, 14 in chat. Do apply. No, she can't have me. I'm already taken. I don't know about Largo. I think he is too. Perhaps Jones. Adam, you're it, man.
I would assume that OBS has better taste than to hang out with any of us yokels for longer than just a live stream.
I would imagine. I think OBS is probably doing well over there. She's she's laughing. Yeah, she works as I'm going to say she's a chef, but she says she's a preparer. She's not experienced enough to be the chef, but I bet she can make a hell of a damn meal. What do you think, Largo?
I would imagine.
And come on, Bill. She has posters and VHS. As good as all that sounds, I've got posters and VHS here too. I love you, OBS, but I'm already taken.
Rolo stirring up trouble.
But anyway, I know I love him. I'm glad he's got the internet back. I was kind of worried that it was going to be several days. Are you still in the hospital there, guy, or are you moved into your hospice yet? I know you said you had to go live in the hospital for a little while here for a few days. I hope that's working out well. But back to what we were talking about. I think he mentioned in the chat
that he's in the hospice now. He's already moved in.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So we're going back to pop culture once again and what it's become today. But I'm afraid that my pop culture is now just nostalgia. What do you think, Largo?
Well, I think ours is some well.
Yes.
What do you think, Adam?
I think it is, because look at the new generation stuff. What do they have that's actually new? That's new to them, their generation? There isn't much. Most movies are remakes. Most music is remakes. Well, some music is new, but music I don't understand. But hopefully they'll have something out of that to be able to call vintage and classic to themselves someday. But outside of that, there isn't a whole lot of new stuff, and I fear for that stuff for them. Because that stuff like toys and things like this is all important stuff. Like it's all part in development and all this stuff. And I know I'm kind of just going a tantrum here, but it's just, I don't know. I find our stuff really is nostalgia stuff. And I don't think we're ever going to have anything quite like it ever come back. That's my take on it.
It's like for me as a kid, we had the reruns of the Adam West Batman, and somehow it had a resurgence and it became popular in pop culture again, but for a while there it was fading away. We had the $6 Million Man. When that came out, that was new, that was novel, that was fresh. And now not too many people, when you say Steve Austin, they're thinking about the wrestler. They're not thinking about Colonel Austin from the show or even the original book.
Here's another thing, Largo. Have you ever noticed that whenever they do a reimagining or a remake of something such as, I'm going to give an example of Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man. They were going to do a remake of the $6 Million Man. They were going to make a new movie of it, but it was going to be a comedy. They were going to make fun of what the $6 Million Man was. And no, the $6 Million Man was absolutely not cheesy back in the day for us. Now, it may be cheesy to watch it now, but back in the day, that was serious shit.
It may not have aged well compared to some other things, but it was good.
Well, but the first 3 or 4 of those were actual ABC movies.
Mm-hmm. They weren't sure if they were going to make him a super spy or if they were what they were going to do. So the first couple movies was kind of different, and then they kind of settled into a groove for the TV show.
TV series is what it progressed to, but the first 3 or 4 episodes of $6 Million Man were actually ABC Sunday night movies, if I'm not mistaken, Largo.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember. That was a big event. That was the other thing. When you had regular, 3 or 4 channels, when a big movie would come on, they'd advertise it, and you'd set aside time to watch it because you only had one TV, and you had to negotiate your time to watch what you wanted to watch anyway. and God forbid a sports team was
All
playing
right,
that your dad wanted to
here
see.
comes Ben Stutley out of nowhere with the Italian movies, Italian stuff. Argentino, Didado, Suspiria. I've seen Suspiria. Cannibal Holocaust. I've seen Cannibal Holocaust. I've got a Cannibal Holocaust story I'd be love to tell you. It's been banned here for years. Yes. What about you, Largo?
There
you
was
seen any of that track? I mean, that stuff.
There was a spy movie that they did called Diabolique. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. That was pretty popular, and it was based, I think, on an Italian comic book. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
I always pronounce it diabolic, but yeah, I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about. He was a super spy, and it was based on a comic, and Mystery Science Theater 3000 ripped it to shreds. Yeah, I saw that. No,
yeah, the comic was better than the movie.
I gotta go pick my son up from basketball, so I'll have to check the rest of this
all right.
out on replay.
It was good. It's good having you on. Come back anytime, man.
Will do.
Good to see you, Jonesy.
Man. You guys,
it's always good hanging with you.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, so what he's talking about there are those really, really awful Italian horror. Well, Italian horror movies go into a whole different category than horror. You know, horror is here. The Italians are way up here off the screen when it comes to that crap.
I've probably seen one or two, but I couldn't name one. I was more into the British Hammer horror stuff. That was about the edge of the gore.
That's some tame shit. That's some tame shit compared to this Italian stuff. Cannibal Holocaust was so horrible that the filmmakers were taken to court and accused of making a snuff film and had to produce the actors to prove that they weren't dead.
Good grief.
I was watching Cannibal Holocaust earlier in my life when my daughter was just a wee thing. I think she was 9, maybe 10 years old. Now, of course, I remember being 11, 12, 13 years old. We had gone to the video store. We had got Cannibal Holocaust there. I think it had been renamed to Make Them Die Slowly. And we had taken this movie home and we were watching it, and we were 12 or 13-year-old little boys just laughing and cutting up and having a good time watching all this horrible crap of these people being eaten by the cannibals. And I had popped this movie in. I just got through sailing on the ocean, and I had gotten it, and I popped it in, and I was getting ready to watch it. And the mind cheats, Largo. When you remember things, you don't remember how horrible what you saw when you were 12 or 13 years old actually was. And so she comes bounding into the room. She goes, "What you watching, Daddy?" And I go, "I'm fixing to watch an Italian cannibal movie. You want to watch it with me?" "Yeah, sure." I scarred my daughter for life, Largo, and I'll go to hell for that, and I'll always be remorseful of allowing my daughter to see that horrid trash. And yes, it must be watched at least once in one's lifetime, but you don't need to be that young when you watch it. So yeah, Ben Stutley, yeah, I've seen what you're talking about, some of it, not all of it. Suspiria and Cannibal Holocaust especially. I think there was another one called Cannibal Pharaoh, which was even worse than Cannibal Holocaust. But yeah, there's all of that. Let's see what
I don't shelter
about real quick.
I don't shelter my stepson, but I'm there is a limit. There's some things I just won't let him watch because there's no point to it. But if there's some cursing or a little TNA, it's he's 14, he's old enough to see that. I don't think that's a big deal.
Stutley goes, and I'm not saying I like it. My brother loved it though, so I saw them all. It's a sad face. Yeah. And what was Rolo saying here? Cannibal Holocaust was a baby compared to the stuff you did. Recommend on the channel. Oh yeah, I admit that there is that's an Italian movie as well. The Italians are just known for making stuff like this. But yeah, that movie that he's talking about is called The 180 Days of Sodom, which is based upon a book written by the Marquis de Sade. But it was set at the end of World War 2, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's probably one of the worst movies that there is to watch. I don't recommend anybody watching it. But every time I tell somebody that, they think they have to run off and watch it, and then they come back with this look on their face because a little piece of their soul has been taken from them. So don't watch that movie, fellas.
And don't make it a double feature with Caligula.
Oh, definitely not. I've seen Caligula too. Godzilla, Japanese. Okay, now we're getting into the good stuff. Yeah, I love Godzilla now. Sir, I like salt says, Lord forgive me, we have screwed up, such is life. Yeah, that's true.
C'est la vie.
But however, there are some things that have to be seen because you must see these things in order to understand what true filth is.
Well, that's one philosophy.
You ever see the Tin Drum? Oscar beats the drum and screams and breaks windows. Do you know what she's talking about there, Largo?
I'm not familiar.
Me neither.
Oh, don't know. But I did watch Where the Red Fern Grows. That was a pretty damn good movie. Did you ever see that movie, Largo?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get away from these Italian movies that they've invaded my brain now.
Apparently, it's 1979 film though. The Tin Drum.
Yeah, she says it's a weird foreign movie, and apparently, Rollo has seen it, which does surprise me because Rollo is a modern day Renaissance man. He's probably.
I do like to find, kind of the weird and fantastic or esoteric. Like there was a Bill Murray movie called "Where the Buffalo Roam," based on Hunter S. Thompson. It wasn't super popular, but it was good, and it was something early in his career. What's some other good ones?
Get rid of this thing, whatever it is. God, get it off my screen.
I had them in mind the other night too.
Destroy it. Come on, wrenches.
I'm still learning how to do the whole wrench thing, but let's see if I can get it.
I was trying to put this on the screen.
Oh, okay.
I hit the damn thing, and that spot popped up on the screen.
Thank you, OBS. She's on it.
I don't see it in the chat over here. Thanks. Great. I'm glad you got.
But like I've said before, Bill. That's a compliment. That's it. If the bots are after you, then that means somebody's watching.
The last time those things got on his channel. Yeah,
you're popular
once
if you got the
sex bot. Yeah.
That's a sad statement on our society.
Yeah, I know. And what I don't understand is, all right, so in order for the bot to be in your channel, that means the bot has to have a channel as well, right?
I would guess. I don't know.
I really don't know how it works either, to be honest, but I assume
I don't have
so.
a clue. Okay, of course, OBS is now laughing in tears at our old asses. But yeah,
I don't know how half of this stuff works.
Yeah, I learn something new every day, every time I stream.
I just know it's annoying.
Yeah,
and I was gonna talk to Adam, and I'll just do this live in the damn chat, Adam. You were wondering. Now you watch your streams on on your PC, right?
Yep.
When you're doing your stream, okay.
Like I'm watching it. Watching it on my PC right now, and I'm watching it on my big TV.
Right. Now, what I do is I go over to YouTube Studio before I start streaming, and I pull up my YouTube Studio and look. Let me go over here and show it to you real quick. Let me get it on the screen.
Here's a question that I don't know the answer to, and it's driving me bananas. How can you get notifications out via OBS Studio when you're doing an OBS Studio live? I can't get the notifications out, so I always have to do them in the community tab. I can get them when I do, like when I set them up through anything else, any other software, but when it's OBS, can't figure it out.
I don't know. I always do stream. I always let StreamYards do all my work for me. I do
Yeah.
OBS, but I make OBS as a virtual webcam so that I can switch between scenes on there. But I don't actually stream using OBS.
Adam, I'd recommend that ask that to Grindhead. He's kind of our tech guru,
Grindhead
for
Jim
lack
will
of a
give
better term.
you all you need to know about using OBS. Grindhead Jim, yeah, he's the guy to ask.
Yeah. It's
All
the
right,
one
first
thing
I'm
I
going to
can't
present
figure out.
this. I'm gonna put this Chrome tab up and share it with you guys, and get it up here on the screen.
While he's tinkering with that, Adam, let me ask you something.
There we go.
Yeah.
In Canadian pop culture, is there things that are slightly different than what we have down in the States as far as, cartoons or movies, or are there things that are uniquely Canadian that are more, interesting to you guys?
So. I think so. I think there's some cartoons and stuff like that. Have you ever heard of the cartoon The Raccoons?
Nope.
I think that's a Canadian cartoon, and it was a great cartoon that we had back in the 80s. So yeah, we did have some different stuff that was different from you guys. Like we had same with our shopping centers. Like we had a big one. It was called Zellers. I don't think you guys had that in the States. I'm pretty sure that's Canadian. Yeah, so it's kind of like
I've heard of that, but
it's like the version of Kmart, basically. Same idea. So we had different stuff like that. But yeah, definitely some different stuff.
All right. Can you guys hear and see me, right?
Yep. There's a little bit of a lag sometimes, but I can hear you.
Yeah, it's because I'm trying to do too much here, but I'm going to show him. All right, on the dashboard, you go to content, then you go to live. Now this is while you're streaming or after you've set up a stream, and you can see that right there. And right there, it says view in live.
I know this.
View in live control room. You see that? When you click on that opens up your live control room.
Okay. See, I can get
now, what I can see in that.
I get to this page a different way than you do.
Right. Now, in this, what you do is a lot of times you can either leave this up like it is, or you can hit these three little buttons here, and it has pop out chat. And you can pop this chat out. If you need to work inside of this with that, you can. I know I've got to get this off, making everything.
You're stretching your rubber bands way too thin.
So I'll stop sharing it for now.
Yeah. It's weird because I get in the same thing you do, but I get through
whenever I do shit like that, it just
I just go into OBS and then go into
well, I actually have it open in a tab.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually have it open in a tab in my browser so that I can go over there and I can look at it and use it whenever I need to. Although I don't really pay much attention to it, but if I need to get in the chat, for real, that's where I go and do it.
Oh, really? I prefer my phone. I do not like
that out if I want to. I don't have to keep it. I don't have to keep it in that tab. I can actually use the pop out chat so that it pops it out into its own little floaty window, so I can pull it up.
Yeah,
and that's how you can get the chat for real while you're streaming. But
I'm trying to keep up with the chat on my phone because
my other device.
Yeah, I think it's a little easier because I'm nearsighted, and that way I can actually see it.
I like this. I like looking at the chats on this. This is the way I like
I'm with you guys.
When I'm doing OBS, I'm using it as an overlay as a cartoon character. So you got to remember, I got a cartoon character that I got to deal with on this side of the screen.
I have it as a webcam at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I do. I got my phone tied up over here as the toy cam.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I need you guys to tip me some
money. Different. Yeah. Your setup is completely different from mine. Mine is not the same as yours. We set up differently.
I'm sure.
Well, my internet here in Guatemala is basically held together with bubble gum and baling wire, so I'm happy if I can get a signal.
Yeah, my signal cuts in and out too because there's a lot of noise as well, and that's why you'll see me stutter. Not only because I'm trying to overwork my poor laptop, but it's because of the noise in the lines as well. I'm sure we're losing the chat at this point, but yeah, I've got a complete Frankenstein's monster going on over here because StreamYards is streaming. Okay, that way I can have you guys come on the show if I want you to, and I can I can do StreamYard overlays, and I can let StreamYard, if I want to show a video on StreamYard, and let StreamYard show it through their server, so it doesn't kill me over here trying to show it. But I have overlays like you can see the chat overlay and my overlay there. I'll take it back off the screen. If I wanted to show the toy cam, I can do that. OBS does all that for me. Like the title card, I can bring that up. If I wanted to show a video or something like that, I can. If something fucked up goes on, I can get some technical difficulties on the screen. I can do stuff like that, and that's what I've got OBS for, mainly to be able to switch between scenes like that if I need to. But otherwise,
I think we've got a kindred spirit here in Ben Studley because he brought up Fear and Loathing and the Rum Diaries. It's like, oh yeah, we're on the same page.
I remember watching those. That's that Hunter S. Thompson stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hunter S. Thompson was gonzo.
Yes, he was. As a matter of fact, he wrote a book called The Hell's Angels. Have you ever read that?
That I haven't, but I should check it out. I like his stuff.
Yeah, that was written by he actually spent about a year or two actually living with the Hell's Angels in California back in the heyday of the Hell's Angels back in the 60s, and he ended up getting stomped. After he got stomped, that was kind of the end of his time with the Hell's Angels. Yeah.
I guess he might rub some of those fellas the wrong way.
Well, actually, what happened was he got involved with something that he needed. He should have just walked away from, and that was one of the angels was reprimanding his old lady, and that's just not something. That's not your business. You go away.
Right.
Let them handle that business. And I guess he thought he was going to be a hero, and he found out that you cut one and they all bleed. They stomped him.
What's the saying now? F around and find out. That's what he did.
And there's a whole chart. It's a line going like this right here, and you got find out right here, and you got F around right here, and
they will intersect.
Yeah, they do. See, OBS says, I got a notice from the History Channel. Supposedly, it's a live stream of them driving and finding a spaceship. Clickbait? Yeah, I think that is. And the chat's been disabled. Yeah, that's clickbait. Bunch of crap. The History Channel is bull crap. Now, remember when the History Channel was the Nazi channel and it was all about Hitler and it was always World War II documentaries? Now it's nothing but the space aliens.
That's right. Because everything's an alien now. Bigfoot's an alien, and the guy next door is an alien, and the guy who sold you your Buick is probably an alien. Elvis was an alien.
They think he might have been abducted by aliens. I don't think so. I think Elvis is in rock and roll heaven.
Well, either that or he what was that movie? You ever see the movie Bubba Hotep?
Yeah, I remember that.
Maybe that's what happened.
Masters Maniac Mexico has read Hunter S. Thompson's Hell's Angels. I read the book. I lived the life. Hunter very much got beaten up. Yeah, he did. He got stomped. That's what they called it. They call it stomping. They dig in metal up, but it could be a plane or a boat. It could be anything, OBS. They probably put it there in the first place to dig it up.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of junk up there now, including one of Tesla's cars floating around in the atmosphere. So who knows what's out there? Which reminds me, speaking of nostalgia, there was a cheesy show. I want to say Ernest Borgnine was in it. It was called Salvage One. Have you ever seen that? where they built a spaceship out of junk.
It had Andy Griffith was in it. Yes.
Yeah.
The first movie was good. The TV series was ass. So if you want to watch Salvage 1, watch the made for TV movie. That was good. And then they tried to make a television series out of it. Well, how many episodes did that last? 2, 3, maybe
2, 3. Yeah.
It was ass, but the movie was good. Rolo, if you need somebody that you want to take care of that cut properly, yes, I'm the one to send it to.
Yeah, because that's something that needs to be respected.
And very much so, and it needs to go to somebody who's into life, and that'd be me. Hunter S. Thompson was awesome and gone too soon. I do agree with that. But I think Hunter did put his nose in places where it didn't belong at times, and that would be. If you read the book The Hell's Angels, you have to remember Hunter S. Thompson is telling his side of that story. There's another side of that story.
Yeah, before he got known for being as eccentric as he was an investigative journalist. So that was kind of in his blood. But yeah, there's some places you probably ought to walk away.
Now, I'm hearing something that I haven't heard in a long time. And that's Fritz the Cat. Fritz the Cat was the bomb. You know who Fritz the Cat is? I know, Largo, because I see you nodding your head.
I've read some of those comics back in the day.
Yeah. That was some of that underground stuff.
Yep. Was it Zap? Voyage was another comic.
The Sea was Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea was a badass movie back in the day. Sir I Like Salt says the History Channel still shows us history here. One of the lessons soon to be lost. What a shame. Hitler showed us what not to do. That's correct. Space 1999. I got to watching Space 1999 here about 2 years ago. I got this thing called Voodoo, Budu, on my TV. And you can watch, well, you could at the time. I don't know if you still can, but you could watch episodes of Space 1999 for free on there. You just had to suffer through the ads at the beginning and the ending.
Yeah, that was old Gary Anderson. I don't know, Adam, if you had some of the Gary Anderson marionette type shows. They were big in Britain, like Thunderbirds or Captain Scarlet.
Don't think so. Not that I'm aware of.
Thunderbirds are gold.
Anything before 1982, I wouldn't have a clue.
Okay. Well, they did show them a lot on syndication and reruns, but Gary Anderson had this neat idea.
Channel when it first came out.
Oh, were they? He took marionettes, not puppets, but marionettes on strings, and somehow made a science fiction show around them, and then did some crazy spaceships and other stuff, and it just kind of worked. It's a little creepy sometimes because the puppets, they're puppets, they're kind of creepy. But he did a couple of those shows, and then he did a show called UFO. And then that led him into Space 1999, and those were live action. And he did some good stuff. He's very popular in Britain. I don't know how far that goes worldwide.
They showed Space 1999 here in America because I vaguely remember watching it as a child. They made some awesome ass toys that were released back in the day with Space 1999. The Eagle, yep. I always wanted that when I was a kid, and never had one. But
yeah, it was very expensive, and it was about the same size as for GI Joe figures, about 3 3/4, maybe a little smaller. But it was beautiful. It was huge, and I remember begging for that for Christmas. My folks were like, "No, it's too expensive."
Yeah,
that's one that got away.
But yeah, I like I said, I vaguely remember watching it on television. I was too young to follow it because that was like in the late 70s. And I was too young to be able to follow because it was deep. It was British. It was like Doctor Who. Okay. But basically what happened was the moon got blown out of orbit, and now it was floating through space. And they were on the moon base when it happened. And that's kind of the premise of the show. So they're just kind of free floating on the moon, floating through space, and they had these adventures with strange aliens and things like that. But it's not standard sci-fi stuff, I would say, Largo.
No, it was trippy.
Yeah, it's kind of
trippy.
Yeah,
a lot of LSD influence.
Yeah,
I'm sure somebody was taking some recreational pharmaceuticals when they were writing those scripts.
It's kind of like 2001: A Space Odyssey. How weird that got there towards the end, kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree.
Gap After Dark says that he has the original Space 1999 Eagle and CommLogic's walkie-talkies.
Cool.
And John Koenig and Victor Migo figures. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I forgot Migo did the line of those.
They did. And what's Dudley saying here? Spitting Image taught me politics in the 80s. I remember those guys. Those were the guys that did the puppets. And when was it Phil Collins did that music video, they used those puppets.
Land of Confusion.
Land of Confusion. You had Ronald Reagan in there. You had the Superman suit on, riding on a dinosaur.
Yep. Spitting Image did a lot of good political commentary.
Yeah, they did a TV series with those. I remember that. It was kind of cool, but it didn't last very long. What I always remember was that Michael Jackson would always have his tongue out, and he would put a hot dog bun on it and put some mustard on it and eat it.
You know, one of the imports we had, I think it was from Canada, was The Kids in the Hall. Did you ever watch that one, Adam?
Oh, yes. Show? That was a big show in Canada.
Kids in the Hall.
We used to watch that every freaking, I think they had it on like every weeknight at like 8 o'clock or something like that. But yeah, we watched it every single night.
Yeah, that was good. I like, good comedy, good sketches.
Yeah, they were
Hang
very
on,
good.
Guys. OBS doesn't have a cell phone. So are you on a computer watching us? I always thought you were on a cell phone just like all the rest of us. Of course, I do the real boomer thing, although I'm a Gen Xer. I go in the living room, put YouTube on the television, and then I do the chat on my phone while I'm watching it on the TV screen.
Yeah, I'm watching.
Have you ever done that?
That's what I'm on. I'm on my TV, but I'm on a PC though.
Right.
I have to be because I wouldn't be able to run my software otherwise.
And see them live, stay there, a bunch of kids.
Yeah,
I think I saw some Monty Python in there too.
You know what?
I cut your head. I cut your head.
Did you ever see Largo? The you can't do that on television. I think that was another one.
Yes,
that was
the green
another
slime.
one.
They showed that on Nickelodeon. Yeah. They showed that on Nickelodeon here in America.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you guys had it in the States or not, but that was another big one that we used to watch. Yeah.
Yep. That and there was a drama, Degrassi. Was it Degrassi High?
Junior High. Yes.
Degrassi
that was very popular.
That was on Nickelodeon too.
Yeah.
Was it?
The Sunday Night Sex Show Susan used to be on some of those episodes.
Will made a cardboards in. He says, I have the stream on my TV and the chat on my phone. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what the most of us old guys do. I think that's Nolan does the same damn thing. Yeah. Now Stutley, however, is on a desktop, and OBS is on a Chromebook. That's like a little laptop, isn't it? That Google makes. Is that a Google laptop, a Chromebook? And it doesn't have a Windows operating system on it. It has Google operating system.
It's like a different OS on it. I don't know. It's weird.
But whatever works.
Every Canadian young actress passed through Degrassi. Like I said, I think I was 23, 24 when Degrassi Junior High was coming on. And of course, I was freshly married at the time, but I was still watching kiddie stuff on Nickelodeon every once in a while because I liked it, and I vaguely remember watching the Degrassi Junior High. It was like a preteen soap opera.
It had a lot of realistic events that happens in real life. So I think that's why it was so popular. It's just it addresses a lot of stuff that you go through as a teenager.
Yeah, good script writing.
Yeah,
little kind of slice of life thing. So it gives it a kind of a timeless quality. Everybody's gone through that stuff one time or another.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Some stuff better than others, but They had some pretty,
World Made of Cardboard says it's internet in a box. Now I'm gonna show my age. I remember when you could buy internet in a box. Do you remember internet in a box, Largo?
I remember, I think like America Online, you could buy like a little, how do you say it? Yeah, it was something that came in a box.
Yeah, what it was a web browser. I think it was like Netscape or Spyglass. I think Spyglass. Spyglass's version of Mosaic was in it, and you would come home and you would have to install this on your computer, and you'd have to go through all the jiggery pokery to make it work.
Yes.
But it was called Internet in a Box.
Yeah, I remember.
And Nolan says, Adam, do you remember Neon Riders or Beachcombers?
I remember Neon Riders. Not too familiar with Beachcombers, but I do recall Neon Riders. That name sounds familiar. I have to look it up, but I know it. It sounds familiar.
I don't think Screech was in the Kids in the Hall. Screech was in that other
Screech
thing.
was Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell. That comes on MeTVs on Saturday mornings. So if you want to watch some Saved by the Bell, you can watch that after the Saturday morning cartoons are over with on MeTV.
Yeah, I remember Saved by the Bell.
Oh my God, OBS had a web TV. I had a friend of mine named Chris Krasaki, and he used web TV to put up a GeoCities page. How the hell he did it, I do not know, but I remember web TV.
Yeah, there have been a few things that came and went.
Salzburg says, blue light, free Kmart internet. You had to watch the ads. World Made of Cardboard said, if it didn't have starships, Godzilla, or a giant robot, I did not watch it when I was a kid. I remember the Saturday afternoon movies would sometimes be Godzilla or a giant robot movie, and that would be the shit to watch after the cartoon.
Or Gamera, or some of the other. What was some of the other good Japanese ones? There was a couple that like had some
Jesse
giant robots
Hughes,
and
Epic
stuff.
Badgers in the house. Hey man, how's it going?
Hey.
We're 2 hours 17 minutes into this, and it's 7:32, and I have to be in the bed at 8:00, so I can't stay up too much longer.
I got to say to Epic Badger, much love to the moose.
Yeah, I've been seeing those moose pictures. They're cool as hell on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Never heard of the others. Web TV was the first for me. Yeah, you hook this thing up to your television, and it's got like a very bare bones web browser kind of thing to it. You remember that thing, Largo?
I think the first fancy computer we had was something called the Coleco Atom, and it actually had a literal cassette tape drive for memory. And trying to get internet on that was you had to connect it to a telephone.
Yeah,
literally connected to the telephone,
like a 56K.
Yes, TI 99.4A.
Oh wow, that was basically a scientific calculator with a little bit.
It was about
more
this
fancy.
big. It had you could put cartridges in it. You could play cartridge games. There was a MASH game you could play on it. MASH on the TI 99.4A. First, you were a helicopter pilot, and there were all these wounded, and you had to go and pick up the wounded and take them back to the hospital tent. And then the second stage of the game, it was like playing Operation, the board game. You had like an outline of a patient, and there was shrapnel in there, and you had to go in with your scalpel and get it out without touching the edges.
Oh wow,
kind of neat. I just joined. It's not going to happen. Candy, anyone? We've gone
barely
the gamut
remember
here,
5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know. We've gone the gamut here, folks. I mean, it's been a long stream, a lot of different topics. So we talked about pop culture. We've talked about unpopular opinions in pop culture. We've talked about how the movies nowadays suck. We talked about horrible Italian cannibal movies, and we've gotten to talking about old computers and how we got on the internet back in the day. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff.
You never know.
You never know what I'm going to talk about because it's a stream of consciousness. If you've ever heard of that term, I just let the chat and the subject flow where it's going to flow as we're talking.
Weird, fantastic toy adventures is like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get.
I guess that game for MASH was like the figures that Will has. Okay.
Yeah.
And Amstrad 464.
That was a computer console of some sort? Oh, the VIC 20. Yeah.
The VIC 20. You remember the VIC 20? Dial up. Who can forget the sound of the modem screeching?
56K, yep.
And then about the time you get a connection, somebody would pick up a phone in another room and mess you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's when you do what I did, and you get two phone lines, one dedicated just for the internet, and the other one for the people to talk on. And then I tried something called Poor Man's IDSN, and that's where you take both phone lines and you hook them up to two modems in your computer, and you have one doing the outgoing and the other one doing the incoming, so that you're not when you're downloading,
you don't have the speed lag.
Yeah.
You were highfalutin, Bill. I wasn't that fancy. I was just
I wasn't that smart back then.
This was probably back in the late 90s, folks. Where I'm remembering.
I worked in a video game store, and we used to have the 56K modem for our system. So when we wanted to go on and look up video games back in the day when it was just text, there was no looking up a video to how to beat a video game or anything like that. It was just text words.
Talking about working in a video game store, OBS talks about the beta player, Betamax. Betamax was actually a better format than VHS.
It was superior.
Didn't work out well because of one reason.
Well, you know why. Because the porn industry decided VHS.
You know why VHS beat out Betamax, Adam? Everybody should know this. Do you know why Betamax was a better format than VHS, but VHS became the de facto video format back in the day? Do you know why?
I have no. I don't even know what Betamax is. What is it?
It was a smaller cassette. It was similar to the VHS cassettes, but it was a little smaller, and it had a little bit better sound or picture quality. The way that it was laid down on the tape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've never even heard of it.
Better format. It was way better format, but VHS won out the day because the porn industry decided that that's the format that they were going to use, and so Betamax went away after that.
Well, it almost sounds like the
that's
modern...
exactly right. Yeah. Chicken brown cow. Yeah, chicken brown cow. And what I like Salt say here, teenage years were a boogie. Computers were beginning, had to program my own software in college. Not enough time slotted to finish my project. Well, that brings up a whole different can of worms there. That's back in the mainframe days when you were in college. You had access to it, but you had a certain slotted amount of time that you could be in there. But yeah, that was a little before my time, but I do know about that.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of changes. I remember men used to work hard, play hard, drink hard, and get their porn from a magazine like good red-blooded Americans should.
Playboy.
Yep. You'd always hope when you go out and
we were hustler. We were getting the Hustler magazine back when I was.
Oh, you getting the really dirty stuff. What's his name? Old Larry. I can't remember
Larry
his name.
Flint in the wheelchair. He was a piece of work.
Whew, what a guy! But he was a big fan of free speech.
Programming in basic on a Radio Shack Tandy. Now you going way on back there, cardboard. Way on back there. Yeah.
What was your earliest programming language, Adam? Did you ever do any programming? You work in Pascal or any of those fancy languages?
Nothing like that in my day. No, I never got into computers until like probably late 2000s. Really is when I started getting into that stuff. I wasn't into it at all. Even back in the 90s when I was working in the video game store, I wasn't into the computer stuff at all. I was into video game consoles. That was my thing. It was always my thing.
I liked the text adventures. I was big into what was really? There was a game called
Yeah,
Zork. Do you remember that as a text adventure?
I do remember Zork. Yeah,
That was big.
I remember the text. I remember writing my own text adventure in BASIC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So as we watched, the graphics get better, the games got better, sort of.
Back in those days, the text based games had no graphics; it was just text coming up on the screen. But yeah, my first programming language was BASIC, and back in the late '90s, early 2000s, after I had done my stint in the Army and had gotten married and had decided that I needed to have a decent job to make some better money to support my family, I went back to college and took several programming classes. I learned how to program in C, C++, Java, but I never did any of the Fortran or COBOL. That's some old stuff right there.
But that was the future.
World Made a Cardboard said he did BASIC, Pascal, and Fortran. Looking to do Lisp soon.
I remember when it was high tech. You watch some of those old shows from like the 60s, and they'd be like, these computers of the future, and it's supposed to be in like 1999, and they're using punch cards, adding punch cards into the computer.
Yeah. I always love watching the. I think they did this in Batman and Robin, where they were hacking the computer, and so he's furiously typing on the keyboard, just pounding away at the keyboard, and so Batgirl comes up and she's going to help him. So she gets on the same keyboard he's on, and they both start pounding the keyboard, and that's what hacking was like in the movies. I mean, that's so
yeah. I'm guessing. Yeah,
it's not hacking unless it's dramatic, right?
Yeah. Real hacking is kind of boring. You kind of sit around and wait for shit to happen. And
what was that movie with Angelina Jolie when she was just a kid? Was it called Hackers? Where there were a bunch of kids that got together in a group, and they were.
I don't remember that movie, but I do remember. Oh God. It was
somebody
one of the first
movies
that showed.
He says it was James says it's
hacking. Hacker, says Jimmy Salzberg. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, there's still some controversy about whether hackers are good guys or bad guys, and don't drop the box of punch cards. Oh my God! I think my mother actually worked with punch cards. She was a cost clerk at a factory, and they had a computer that used punch cards. And then she became payroll. She worked in payroll. They used punch cards a lot over there in payroll. And I'm not talking about the punch cards that people punched in and out with. I'm talking about these damn digital cards with all these little holes in them. Yeah. Movie Oubliette has a great podcast about it. Okay.
Yeah, Movie Oubliette was on Iconicon. They do a lot of. Excuse me, I got something stuck in my throat. I need a beer. Have you seen Movie Oubliette, Bill?
No, I've not.
It's a couple of guys. One is it's a podcast, and they also do some things on YouTube occasionally, but most just the podcast. These two fellas that are film critics, kind of. One is he's got a lovely British accent, and the other one I think is in Australia. But they'll pick like an obscure kind of movie, and they'll say, well, either we're going to shine some light on it, and you guys will like it, or we'll watch it and it's a stinker, and we'll throw it back in the oubliette. Because oubliette's that part of a dungeon where you throw things to forget about it. That's the premise.
Okay.
It's a good show.
Gotcha. Sounds like something I might need to check out sometime if I ever get a chance. My time is limited, Largo. I don't know. I after getting through working 12 hours, sometimes it's kind of hard not to just come in here and just just sit and veg for a few minutes before going to bed.
So, Bill, are you changing
Yeah.
your streams from Sunday to Saturday? Like, what's the deal with
No,
your streaming?
I talked about that earlier, and I'll go over it one more time since you bring that up. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get more interactive with my audiences, and I
Yep.
have several audiences. I have my main audience from Sunday, which is basically the toy audience. But I also know that
Yep.
there are people who watch at different hours because they're in different places in the world. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to every once in a while do a midweek stream like we're doing today, just a surprise, boom, and we'll talk about anything you want. I want to do open mic on Friday afternoon after I get off of work, which is basically an open mic, and I want people to actually come on the show like we're doing now and
Yep.
talk about anything they want to. Last open mic I had, JPR from Ancient Order of Men actually popped in on that open mic, and it was very interesting, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
Saturday night is called Up All Night, and it's basically an after show after Ancient Order of Men's AOM TV is over with. I liken it like we've all been out to the bar. We've listened to all the cover bands play, and the show is over. We've been told that it's last call. It's time to go home. You can't stay here, but you don't have to go home. So we go to Crystal or to a local coffee shop and kind of unwind after it's over with. That's kind of what my show is. It's like the local coffee shop. We've just
Yep.
got through with the night out, and we're kind of unwinding, drinking a cup of coffee, kind of coming down off the high we just had, and that's Up All Night. And then, of course, Sunday morning is the hangout where we do toys. We open up boxes of toys. We talk about toys. We bring toy experts on and talk about toys. But
Yep.
and anybody's
Rolo's got a point here, Bill. He says doing these impromptu things, it gets addictive. You might just start popping up more and more.
That's true, and it all depends upon on the way I'm feeling that day. Today, I kind of got off a little early. I had to go take care of some personal business. We know what that was. I got a speeding ticket, so I had to go pay. The state revenue collection agency got a hold of me, and they got the revenue out of me. But anyway, and I had an afternoon free, so I came on in here and did that.
I'm
Ben
trying to remember. You came on one time, and it was a rant of some sort. You were hot under the collar, and you had to get on and vent. What was that about? Was that a
Eternia? Probably.
It was something.
Probably.
It was either. Yeah, I think it was something to do with. Well, it was obviously something to do with Masters of the Universe, and something got you riled. And I remember.
All right, Stully says he's wondering. He says he really enjoyed this kind of a hangout, which it is. I mean, I want to interact with the chat, and I like to have people on the show with me to kind of bounce things off of. But is there regular bat time, bat day? Friday afternoons, that's going to be open mic. Like I said, somebody just gave me some money. Somebody just gave me some money. That would be Jimmy Salzberg. Thank you so much, Jimmy Salzberg. I appreciate you giving me that money. It will help the channel greatly anytime anybody gives me a tip of any sort, because that means I don't have to sell something in order to pay for what it takes to keep this thing going. But anyway, open mic on Fridays, Up All Night on Saturday nights after AOM, which means that Friday afternoon's probably going to be right after I get home from work. So give me a chance to take a shower and get everything set up in here, and I'll get going. Then on Saturday night, as soon as AOM TV is over with, which is usually around midnight Central Time, I'll come on here and we'll kind of unwind after that's over with. And this last Saturday night, Up All Night, Masterversal Toy Hunter, Eldor from Eternia was on the show, and that was very interesting. I think Largo, you popped in for that one, and we had a good time talking to him. So you never know what's going to happen, or never know who's going to show up. Like John Paul Revere showed up on Mike Friday.
Yeah.
Which I want to go ahead and say this one more time. It's about the third time I've done this, but we got new people here. John Paul contacted me by email, and he said that He doesn't want me to show any of his content on my show unless he is on here with me. And I understand that. And I agree with that. Nothing wrong with that. Now, last Up All Night, I think I showed his ending credits over here in this corner of the screen when I was showing my beginning credit that says, hang on, the show's fixing to start, ring the bell, But I had that in a small box. I'm not going to do that any longer either because I want to follow his rules. It's his show, and he is certainly entitled to say, look, I want my content to be on my show. And if I come on your show and show my content, that's cool, but you don't show my content on your show. And I'm like, absolutely, sir. And I apologize if that was if I stepped on his toes on that one. I'm sorry.
Matter of fact, your favorite wizard's in the chat right now saying hi. There he is.
Hey, there he is.
He's been
here.
Yeah, he's been here the whole time. He was here when we started.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. He was earlier.
I'm just trying to keep up with the chat. I can't multitask very well. You may have noticed that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. It's hard for me to keep up with the chat, especially if I'm engaging with somebody and talking with them. Rolo, I know it's needed for me too. Basically, I like to get on with my friends. I like to see what they're up to. I like to hang out in their streams, but I also like to do my own where I can kind of talk about what I want to talk about or whatever. But that's kind of what we do here. It's not just about the toys all the time. Just to let you know, notifications and subscriptions on YouTube are finally sticking in place now. Thank you, Ben. I know that YouTube is broken in many ways. The way it pushes content is broken. I know that the way notifications work is broken. Some people get their notifications, others do not. And I've always said, when you ring the notification bell, make sure you ring it for all notifications. And one of the things I don't understand is why I get notifications by email for some channels and for others I don't. Why some notifications pop on my phone for some channels and some they don't. And
Mr. Salzberg is gonna head out, so have a good evening. It's always good
Take
to
it
see
easy.
you,
I'm
Jimmy. We love you, brother.
To wrap this one up too because it's now 7:52 my time. My bedtime is 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I gotta head out too.
So, all right, Adam. It's good on the show, man. It was a lot of fun, and you come back anytime you want. And Largo, I'm fixing to end this one. If you'll hang out just a second with me, I'd appreciate it. And everybody, I just want to say that it's been a great time together, and hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of the week. And I'll see you guys on Friday afternoon after I get home from work for open mic. And remember, together we shall triumph.
Special thanks to these supporters on Patreon. Without your help, these adventures would not be possible. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's adventure, please hit like and subscribe and share the video.